Hello, I'm back. Hello. Happy Tuesday. I'm so off with the holiday being yesterday. I was supposed to be here having a Karen Read marathon. Didn't happen, but hello. Happy Tuesday. Welcome. We are going to be covering DIDDY, day 10. Hello. Can you guys see me and hear me? Okay, are we good? Hello. Let me see who's here. Oh, hey, Debbie. Hey, Tipsy. Hey, Abuelitas. Hey, Robert. Here listening, washing dishes. That's what I need to be doing. No, what we really need to be doing is covering DIDDY. I know everyone's diddied out. Be ready for it until July. Pretty much. I think, right? I'm not sure. I'm not covering the DIDDY content on Inner City Press. I know everyone's doing it. Shout out to him. That's awesome. I just don't want to be covering the same things. I am going to read day 10 from CNN. That's who I've been reading off of. I really like them. I don't know. People have their feelings about CNN. But then we're going to watch 3 clips, 2 from DIDDY Day today, and then 1 AI of the Cassie testifying. If you're new here, you haven't watched the DIDDY content before, we watched Long Crimes, like AI version of the DIDDY trial, which they only have a few videos up, and they just did a Cassie one. So we're going to watch that one. I really dig it. Really dig the AI stuff for the trials that we at least can't see since it's a federal case. But let's get started. I'm going to start off with reading CNN. Hello, Maura. Good to see you. And then we'll get into the clips, and then I'll end this live, and we will jump over to another live for Karen Read. Also following that trial. Oh, sorry, I didn't have my screen. Well, I'm slacking today. Okay, let's see. Oh, my bad. Let's get started. This trial is, sometimes I'm like, is this even real? It seems like a movie, especially if you've been following DIDDY from the beginning. I know Capricorn Clark, I believe her name is today. I don't actually really know her real name. Hopefully they say that. She was DIDDY's assistant, I believe. And I did read that Cassie maybe went into birth today. So shout out to Cassie. Hope she's doing okay. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so let's see. May 27th today, day 10. Afternoon recap from day 10. Here's what happened on cross-examination after the lunch break. Wait, I don't know if I want to read that because I don't want to miss anything. Okay, I guess we can read it. I don't want to miss anything. It's kind of giving we're finding out before. Let me see. Prosecutors say they plan. Oh, they're telling us about tomorrow. Los Angeles Police Department, Deontay Nash, and a woman named Mia, who's Jane Doe, right? Also former assistant and alleged victim. Prosecutor Maureen Comey said she believes the team will get all 4 witnesses tomorrow. Interesting. So relationship with Ventura changed. Clark testifies that she and Cassie Ventura started to develop some issues around 2008. Saying she got a little bit more bravado as being his girlfriend. The longer it lasted, and she and Ventura went from being more of a sweet model to a feisty girlfriend. Clark said Ventura's live performances weren't great, though she thought she had talent. When Clark returned to work for Ventura in 2016, she said Ventura's drug use was preventing her from the opportunities that were before us. So I was kind of listening, and I feel like there was good and bad moments from Capricorn Clark testifying. How many people was around and this stuff was going on? This is intense. While working as Ventura's creative director in 2016, Clark helped create a new look for her show off the MTV Music Video Awards that year, and it required Ventura to dye her hair neon yellow. Clark testified that Ventura liked the idea and confirmed that she wasn't forced against her will to dye her hair. Clark broke into sobs as she looked at emails she sent Combs in 2014 and 2015, asking him to forgive her. Earlier in the day, she testified that while she was officially fired in 2012 over a vacation she took, she believes Combs actually fired her because he was upset about her knowledge of Ventura's relationship with Kid Cudi. She said she felt she was a protector for Combs and he didn't have anyone looking out for him without her on staff. Under redirect examination, Clark said the settlement she reached with Combs after her termination in 2012 required mutual non-disparagement and that Combs would sign a letter of recommendation for Clark, but he never did. Clark testified that she couldn't get a job in the industry after that. The judge struck that testimony from the record after sustaining a defense objection. Clark said she continued to look for work through 2015, but wasn't able to find anything in the industry and was quote-unquote blacklisted, to which the judge sustained a defense objection to her response. Unable to find steady work in the entertainment industry, Clark started consulting. She testified saying, at this level of business, he holds all the power as it is related to me. Combs' defense team again raises concern about call restrictions at his prison. Sean Diddy Combs' defense team is again raising concerns that all call restrictions at his prison don't allow him enough time to speak to Combs once he returns after the trial ends for the day. Judge Submaranian said he thinks there's been a disconnect between the defense and prison officials and that he would try to help them find a solution. Is Diddy running like his life through his lawyer? Who's doing like his private jet business and all of that? Like, I'm curious who's running all that stuff. Combs controlled Ventura's career decisions. Ex-employee testifies. Capricorn Clark said Sean Diddy Combs' former employee testified that when she worked for Cassie, Combs was required to approve all her looks, each of her songs, and every event she went to. She said Combs would withdraw his support when the couple was fighting. Wow. It's really crappy. Capricorn Clark is off the witness stand. And okay, so that's towards the end of the day. Oh, wow, that's her. She looks a lot different, huh? In the pictures? Or is it just me? Former employee of Sean Diddy Combs. Okay. Clark testifies about difficulty finding a job after 2012. Firing under the redirect examination. Sean Diddy Combs, Puff Diddy, whatever his name is, employee Capricorn Clark the settlement she reached with Combs after her 2012 firing required mutual disparagement and that Combs signed a letter of recommendation for Clark. Combs had never signed a recommendation letter for Clark. She testified she couldn't get a job in the industry after that, she said. She also said that in a meeting she thought was about possible employment with the executives from Interscope Records, they told her to leave Combs alone and it wouldn't end well for her. Judge Submaranian struck that part of the testimony from the record after a defense objection. Clark testified that she continued to look for work through 2015, but wasn't able to find a new job in the industry because she was blacklisted. The judge sustained another defense objection to her response. She said she wasn't able to find steady work in the entertainment industry, so she started consulting. At this level of business, he holds all the power as it is related to me, Clark testified. She returned to work for Combs in 2016 as Cassie Ventura's creative director after not finding other employment. Mark Agnifilo did the cross-examination. Clark testifies that she pleaded for Combs' forgiveness after firing. Clark said Diddy's former employer broke into sobs as she looked at the email she sent Combs in 2014 and 2015, asking him to forgive her. She testified earlier in that day that although she was officially fired in 2012 over a vacation she took, she believed Combs actually fired her because he was upset about her knowledge of Cassie's relationship with Kid Cudi. She said she felt like she was a protector for Combs and didn't have anyone looking out for him without her on the staff. That email is me pleading like, dude, let it go, she said. Clark, through tears, said she was hurt because she believed at the time that Ventura wanted her fired. It also bothered her, Clark said, that she believed Combs only hired her again in 2016 because Ventura wanted to work with her. Hey, Dodge. Combs used Clark's phone to call Ventura before chasing Kid Cudi, says Capricorn Clark. These are lanes, man. Sean Diddy Combs would periodically come outside the house, but his security guard stayed inside, according to Capricorn Clark. Clark testified that on one occasion, Diddy checked her phone and then called Cassie from it, asking whose phone number it was. The call was cut off when they heard Kid Cudi's car approaching. When Kid Cudi sped off, Diddy and the security guard jumped into a car and chased him. Clark said she spoke to someone else besides Ventura outside Kid Cudi's home, continuing to testify about the night she called Cassie from outside Kid Cudi's house in 2011. Capricorn Clark said she called Lauren London for about 30 seconds for her own protection before she called Ventura. Clark was outside the house while Sean and his security guard were inside. She was like my sister at the time, and I just wanted someone to know where I was, Clark said, choking up. He was in the house, and if he didn't get unalived, I just needed somebody to know where I was. Oh, and if he did get unalived, I just needed to know somebody to know where I was in case this all really went bad. After thinking about it on the stand, Clark said it's possible she had London on a three-way call with Cassie. She testified she can't remember whether she called London separately from Ventura or spoke to them at once on a conference call. Lauren London making an appearance in this trial. She is Nipsey's wife. Hey, Chief. Hey, being in the middle, man. Key breeze. I actually really like Lauren London. They're just friends. Do we know? Are they related? How are they friends? I need to know the details. I actually really like Lauren London. Clark warned Ventura and Kid Cudi that Combs had a GUN and intended harm during the 2011 incident. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo, what is his name? Challenged Capricorn Clark Diddy, former employee, repeatedly asked whether she told Cassie and Kid Cudi that Combs had a GUN when she called them from outside Kid Cudi's house. Clark insisted she told him about the GUN, the pew-pew, speaking very quickly so Combs wouldn't hear her on the phone. I said, Puff came to my house with a GUN. We came to Cudi's house to unalive him. And then I heard, quote unquote, they're in my house. She testified Ventura had the call on speaker with Kid Cudi so that she could hear him yell that. Clark testified that she's unsure how Diddy and security entered Kid Cudi's property. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo questions Clark, saying on how Combs and his security got through the gate surrounding Kid Cudi's property. Clark testified that she wasn't sure because their backs were to her and she wasn't paying close attention to what they were doing. I was praying that Cudi wasn't inside there. Oh my gosh. So allegedly, he like really had it out for Cudi. Hey, CW. Good to see you. Agnifilo. No, I know. I just have all these names for it. Mark Agnifilo, Trilifilo, whatever. And then Diddy, Sean P. Diddy Combs, Sean Love Puffy, Puffy Daddy. I mean, Diddy Daddy. I don't know. There's all these names. I can't even keep up. I can't even keep up. Clark disputes defense claims she voluntarily accompanied Combs in 2011. Defense attorney Agnifilo suggested Capricorn Clark and Diddy's former employee, formerly went with Combs to Kid Cudi's house in 2011 because she didn't want him to do something stupid. Right. Like, unalive him. Agnifilo suggested that Clark told him and attorney Tenny Garagos that at this meeting with attorneys in April 2024. On the stand Tuesday, Capricorn says she did not want to go with Combs. I went because he told me that he didn't care that I didn't want to go. Agnifilo asked if it was possible that Combs would do something stupid because he's a jealous guy. I wouldn't use the word jealous, Clark said. He has a very bad temper. Jealous? Definitely not just that. He is a maniac. Clark denies telling Homeland Security agent that the guard was with the Combs during the 2011 kidnapping. Okay. Whoa. Okay, wait. We went to, like, he was over at the house with the pew-pew, trying to pew-pew Kid Cudi, and then he kidnapped her. A kidnapping? Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo suggested that Capricorn Clark told an agent from Homeland Security Investigations that Combs came to her door with a building security guard the morning she says he kidnapped her to go to Kid Cudi's house in December 2011. On the stand, Clark repeatedly denied saying that and maintained that a security guard was not with Diddy. Clark testified that Combs demanded, oh my gosh, can we just call him Diddy? Diddy testified that demanded a security guard let him into the building that morning, and the guard was fired soon after. Wow. What the heck? Clark learned of Ventura and Kid Cudi's relationship in late 2011. Capricorn says Diddy said that she first learned Cassie and Kid Cudi were getting to know each other around Thanksgiving in 2011. She said that Kid Cudi came to her apartment to hang out once, sometime after Thanksgiving. Capricorn said that about a week after the alleged napping, she took Ventura from Kid Cudi's home after she spent the night there. Clark said she understood at the time that Ventura was in a relationship with Diddy. Oh man, when you make bad choices, right? She should have just stayed with Kid Cudi? Question mark? No? Do you guys think so? Damn, Kid Cudi was almost a real live action movie. Right, Day and Night car. Oh my gosh, Day and Night. Diddy coming for him. Day and Night. Not funny, but kind of funny. Not like the what happened, but just, I feel like, what the heck? Is J-Lo going to take the stand? Where's J-Lo? Has anybody asked where J-Lo is? Is J-Lo just over at the AMAs kissing people and touching people's groins? Like, is that what's going on? But she's not going to testify or be involved. Great. I think she knows a lot about Diddy. Anyways, let me know if you watch that. I didn't watch it. I don't watch things like that, but I heard about it. Clark says Ventura wasn't forced to dye her hair. Capricorn Clark worked for Diddy as a creative director, we know, working for Cassie. She helped create a new look for Ventura to show off at the MTV Video Music Awards that year that required Ventura to dye her hair neon yellow. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo asked Clark to confirm that Cassie was on board with the look and had a say in the decision. Clark testified that she presented the idea to Cassie, who liked it, before telling Diddy about it. It's terrible. Living like that? Mm-mm. The defense attorney explicitly asked Clark to confirm that Cassie wasn't forced against her will to dye her hair. J-Lo's on the floor. She hosted there. Yeah, I know. Good. Coocher. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, where is Ashton? Call him Parasite. Good idea. Oh my god. That's funny. Okay. Ventura stopped receiving support from Diddy, even as focus shifted to new artists. New artists like Machine Gun Kelly and French Montana were getting a lot of attention at Bad Boy around 2012. But Capricorn Clark said that Diddy's former employee Cassie seems to be getting the same amount of attention. Clark said that even though Diddy took a step back around 2016-17, she believed Cassie still had the same support. Diddy initially gave Ventura more resources than other bad boy artists. Diddy made sure that Cassie had access to top tier industry professionals that create stars, quote unquote, create stars, whatever that means, like selling your soul, including producers, choreographers, and stylists. His former employee Capricorn Clark testified under cross-examination. Cassie had been getting more attention and resources than other artists signed with Bad Boy, especially at the beginning of her career between 2007 and 2012. From my point of view, the lion's share of Bad Boy was on Cassie in that first block of time, said Capricorn, referring to a time period between 2007 and 2010. See, it's just good. Yeah, angry Puff. He's a little angry Puff, huh? A little angry Puffy. I wonder if Danny Masterson and Diddy ever cross. Oh yeah, Ashton very sus. Oh, Kutcher's involved too. Yeah. Cassie, or I'm sorry, Clark testifies that relationship with Cassie changed over time. Jeez, it seems like Cassie lost a lot of her friendships over this relationship. Huh? Remember the best friend she didn't talk, she was like best friends with forever? And Cassie, like, or did he beat on her too? Capricorn Clark says that Capricorn testifies that she and Cassie started to develop some issues around 2008. She got a little bit more bravado as being his girlfriend the longer it lasted. She went from being more of a sweet model to a feisty girlfriend. Icy. Defense attorney Mark Schmifilo asked Clark if she thought that Cassie was very talented. I think she had talent, Clark responded. She testified that Ventura's live performances weren't great. What? When she returned to work for Ventura in 2016, Clark said, quote unquote, her rug use was preventing her from the opportunities that were before us. Oh man. Rumor has it that Ashton has already gotten released on lighting. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Cross-examination of Capricorn Clark resumes. Okay. Judge Submarinian is back on the bench. Okay. Prosecutors say they are so far ahead of schedule. Their case is likely shaping up to last 5 weeks. Oh. Wait. So then we only have like 2 more weeks of the Diddy trial, because 5 weeks and we're on week 3, day 10. So it's only going until like mid-June. Yeah, Mark Agnifilo Schmifilo. That's his new name here on Millionaires. I don't understand it. People that are famous and have an opportunity to get there should, I feel like I'm in the dark over here. I feel like there should be more accountable, not less, when stuff happens. At this point, I feel like, who wasn't involved with the Diddy? Like, who wasn't? And who did not have a relationship to the Diddler, Magnifico? I feel like, Cassie, Kid Cudi, Aaliyah, Left Eye, Tupac, Biggie, J-Lo. Dude, can we even name a list? Oh my God, I think I should do a list, because I need to know, like, everybody in the world, I think, is involved with the freaking Diddy that was in that period, right? The Blue Cantrell, oh my God, Jay-Z, Ashton, everybody we're naming in the chat right now. All his Ellen, all his Predator friends. Okay, that's just my opinion only. Clark texted Diddy in 2021 admitting past crush. Doesn't recall details or his response. A crush? You could do a damn spreadsheet. Yo, Excel be doing me bad lately too at work. Let's not get into it. Make sure you follow my TikTok, because we're gonna get on there and start doing lifestyle stuff, and I'm gonna talk some shit on here. But anyways, moving on about Diddy. Wait. Okay, what will happen? Oh, so she had a crush on him. Yuck. That was my reaction. Sorry, I was getting distracted. Nasty. Do you guys have a crush on Diddy? Just kidding. Don't answer that. Capricorn Clark. Okay. Texted Combs in 2021, June of 2021. Did you ever know that I had the biggest crush on you before I started to work for you? Yuck. We hung out all the time. I played it super cool, she said. I don't think you knew. I just knew for sure that you like to have me around. Excuse me? Like, what do they mean? Wait, she really had a crush on him? Huh. She testified she doesn't remember saying this to Diddy, but recalled reaching out to him in 2021. It's unclear how Diddy responded to the text. Combs' former employee says their relationship was 1000% platonic. Capricorn Clark testifies that she met Diddy around 2002 through a mutual friend shortly after she moved to New York City. She said the relationship was 1000% platonic. She said that Combs took E in the early stages of their friendship and his drug use increased over time. Defense confirms meeting with Clark about possible return to Combs' team. Wait, she goes back and works for him? I don't know. Does the defense question that? I question it. Defense attorney Mark Schmifolo began by confirming with Capricorn Clark, a former employee of Diddy, that they had met before. Schmifolo and Kenny Garagos and another attorney for Combs, Jonathan Davis, met with Clark, who brought an attorney and a friend with her on April 10th, 2024. Mark asked Clark to confirm that she told the lawyers at the meetings that Diddy wouldn't be in this mess if he had kept her around. She acknowledged she probably said something like that as they discussed the possibility of her returning to work for him as chief of staff. She told the lawyers at the meeting that Cassie wasn't good for Diddy. Whoa. The attorney who accompanied Capricorn to that meeting was Brian Friedman, the well-known entertainment lawyer representing Justin Baldoni in the ongoing litigation with Blake Lively. Huh? Wait, what? What? Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, everyone's involved in this case. Everyone but you and I. Unless you went to a Diddy party, let me know. Returning to that meeting in April 2024, Schmifolo suggested that she was told it would be impossible to hire her amid the ongoing criminal investigation into Diddy. She said she didn't remember that being said. Three former Diddy assistants have taken the stand so far. Here's what they've said. Yeah. Diddy's federal crime trial began earlier this month. Three of his former assistants have been called to testify about their experience working for him. On the stand today is Capricorn Clark, former marketing executive for his clothing brand Sean Jean, they put, but I think it's Sean John. Sorry, CNN. Typo. Oh my gosh, who remembers Sean John? And like BB Fat? I'm good. I used to collect BB Fat. I might even still have some of it. Think about it. Oh, Winfrey owns the girls' orphanage too. They're all connected. I'm concerned. Clark testified that she was subjected to a lie detector test, threats, and intimidation, and witnessed Combs be violent with Cassie. She also described an encounter where she saw Combs enter Kid Cudi's home after he found out about his relationship with Ventura. Clark is the third former Combs assistant to testifying, joining David James and George Kaplan. Her testimony continues. She worked for Combs from 2007 to 2009 during the early part of his relationship with Cassie. James was an assistant for Combs. I'm sorry, James, not Clark. James described witnessing Diddy use rugs, and testified about his role in stocking hotel rooms for him when he traveled. We do remember that. The jury has been dismissed for lunch. Here's a recap of what was said. Clark said Combs took her to Central Park with a security guard, and he brought up her former employment with Death Row Records, telling her he didn't know that I had anything to do with Suge Knight, and if anything happened, he would have to unalive me. Clark testified, adding she could have been more transparent about her employment background. Wait, what? That's crazy. She used to work with Suge Knight. Lie detector test. Capricorn Clark, who was tasked with holding diamond jewelry on a loan to Diddy, was accused of stealing it. She testified, saying she realized the bag she was holding with the jewelry inside went missing before they got to the airport to travel from New York to Miami. Diddy went on to Miami and left Clark in New York, where a security guard picked her up from her home and left her in a locked, vacant office space with another man who administered a lie detector test. Clark said. Clark testified she was taken to the same vacant office building for questioning with a lie detector for 5 straight days. The man told Clark at the time, if she failed the test, they're going to throw you in the East River. She said, adding that she didn't want to comply and felt petrified, but felt that the lie detector was the only way to prove her innocence. After 5 days of testing, Clark was allowed to go back to work. Oh my gosh. Clark told a chef in summer of 2006 that she hated her employment. She testified. The chef then told Combs, who confronted Clark, pushing her around and demanded she get out of his house. Clark said that Diddy pushed her about 30 yards using 75% of his force. Eventually, one of Diddy's security guards intervened by telling Combs to stop and telling Clark to go pack her belongings. Okay, so I'm wondering if these security guards defended Cassie like that. Like, why didn't they intervene with Cassie? They clearly didn't have an issue intervening with Capricorn Clark. Did one of them testify, have the security guards? Because, hello? There's security guards? Clark testified, okay, yeah. Clark testified she left her job after the incident because it was crossing my boundary. Clark later returned to work for the hip-hop mogul as the director of marketing for Sean John women's line, but not directly under him because she didn't want that close proximity in his personal orbit like that, she testified. It's almost like people are on different tiers of respect, right? In 2011, Clark began managing Ventura as her creative director. She said, saying he had final approval over everything, including Cassie's physical appearance, and every opportunity she could or couldn't take. Clark and Cassie and Kid Cudi would sometimes hang out. Diddy for the first time showed up at Clark's home in Los Angeles in 2011 with a GUN, visibly furious, questioning why she didn't tell Combs about the relationship between Kid Cudi and Ventura. She testified Combs demanded Clark to go with him, saying, "Get dressed, we're going to unalive him." Dang, they were really trying to take out my guy. Kid Cudi. When she tried to object, Combs said, "I don't give an F what you want to do, go get dressed," and the two left for Kid Cudi's home. Clark said the gun remained in Combs' lap on the drive while a security guard drove to Kid Cudi's home. Combs got out with security guard and entered the home while Clark stayed in the car and called Cassie on her burner phone to tell her about Diddy's plan and warn that Kid Cudi shouldn't confront Combs. Wow. It's like inside the courtroom today. Diddy's mother and sister are inside the courtroom today after court recess for a short break. Diddy's mother kissed defense lawyer Nicole Westmoreland on the cheek. Oh, were they besties? Combs' sister Keisha has been a constant presence at the trial. He is also present today. Wait, Keisha, do we know about Keisha? Keisha, where you been? During Capricorn Clark's emotional testimony, she often patted her eyes with a tissue. She seemed to avert her eyes from Combs, but she was leaving the courtroom during the break. She looked over towards his direction, clenched her jaw, and nodded. Still feel about why all this now. What took so long? I mean, 80s? Since the 80s? Can we have Aaliyah please come up to the stand? R.I.P. R.I.P. I really do believe there's a lot more to that. But that's for another live. Moving on. Clark retained attorneys after Ventura's suit against Combs. Okay, wait. So Clark also settled with Diddy. Do we know how much? Did they say? Who knows? I need to look that up. In 2012, right? She settled. Hi, Britt Nicole. Hello, good to see you, my love. Diddy testified she retained, Capricorn Clark testified she retained attorneys in 2003 after Cassie filed her lawsuit against Diddy. The lawsuit traumatized Clark, she said. Clark met with attorneys for Diddy in April 2024, and they spoke about the possibility of her working for one of Combs' companies again. She said she wanted her life back. Clark never heard from Combs' attorney after that. Clark testified that she hasn't spoken to Ventura since 2018. Oh, so she wanted her life back. It was worth it going back. I question that. I'm sorry. I know she was a victim too, but why would you want to go back? Because she wanted her life back. She wanted the fame, the money, the fast life, right? The jobs, the notoriety, the being known. Prosecution needs to bring more witnesses to the stand to reinforce racketeering charge. You know, I know the thing is like a lot say this is just BB, that, you know, people go through things in a relationship, apparently like blowing up someone's car. If you've done that to your ex, please let me know. I would like to bring you out and talk with you about that. No, but just kidding. But I don't know. I got distracted from reading the chat. Oh, yeah, was it worth it? Like, I don't know. And then, you know, is it worth it? Because people still do that now. Like, there's celebrities and you know, like males and companies that kind of do this kind of stuff. I'm just saying. Oh, my question to you guys was, does this meet Rico? Is this Rico? Is Rico present? Dude, I think he needs to get charged with the whole Kid Cudi thing, right? Like, oh my God, blowing up his car. Okay, so yeah, a pattern of threat, a pattern of GUN, a pattern of rugs, a pattern of all this lawlessness that would go to show that a criminal enterprise was designed to engage in such behavior over a continuous period of time will be very significant if prosecutors want to get through the threshold of proving that it was indeed a criminal racketeering conspiracy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about Rico, but I don't know. Clark returned to work for Combs in 2016 after not finding other employment. She was fired in 2012. She returned to work for Diddy, Puff Daddy, Love Daddy, whatever. Combs hadn't been able to find work and wanted to try to get her life back. She noticed an increase in Ventura's drug use during this time. Clark left the position in 2018, and that was the last time she worked for Cassie. Diddy threatened Clark's career after firing her. She testifies that after she was terminated, Diddy told her that I would never work again and that he would show me that all these people that weren't my friends, that he would make me unalive myself. Clark testified that she received a settlement through Combs' attorneys or over wrongful termination allegations in the fall of 2012. She did not disclose the amount on the stand. I wanted to know that. So she went back. I heard she was blackballed and needed paycheck. Yeah, I heard that too. Hey, Jules. So Cassie went up there and was honest about how much she got. Why doesn't Capricorn Clark want to say anything? Okay, I have to look. Dodge, I haven't checked my emails yet. It's like a recipe of Italian inspiration. Clark was fired in 2012. She said she was still being sent work while she was on vacation. So she told an HR employee that Diddy was mad at her because she didn't tell him his girlfriend was cheating on him. She was terminated shortly after, accused of improperly taking vacation. Under cross-examination, Clark testified that she had been with Rihanna on that vacation. Oh. Hey, Jojo. I think fear was a reason to stay with Diddy. Yeah. I know. But why would you go back if you were already away? She couldn't find a job. He really blacklisted her like that? Dang. Yes, I do have to let you know more. I will for sure. Did I give you my email? If not, I will in a sec. Combs forbade Clark's friendship with Ventura after 2011. She shouldn't be friends with Cassie. They could only see each other for work. Clark testified that her relationship with Cassie changed after that, said that in early 2012, she informed someone in Human Resources and Harv Pierre, the president of Bad Boy Records, about the kidnapping incident and how Diddy wanted to unalive Kid Cudi and beat Ventura. Pierre just told her, "That's crazy, but it's going to be okay." Oh, so Harv Pierre said that it's going to be okay. Is Harv Pierre coming on the stand? Clark alleges Combs said, "I should unalive you." After the events of late 2011, Diddy would angrily ask Capricorn Clark why she didn't tell him about Cassie's relationship with Kid Cudi. One time, Diddy told her, "I should unalive you, bitches, and I should cut her face." Clark testified. Clark estimated Diddy's threats threatened her about 50 times between 2011 and the following summer. He wanted to cut Cassie's face. Oh my god. We love you, Jojo. Miss you, Jojo. Yeah. He wanted to cut her face. It's so scary. Wow. Ex-employee tells she did not speak to authorities or Combs about Kid Cudi's car fire. Capricorn Clark said that arson investigators reached out to her in 2012 asking her to make a statement about an arson incident involving Kid Cudi. Clark said she hung up the phone and did not provide a statement. I wanted this whole thing to be over, she testified. Clark added that she never discussed an arson incident involving Cudi with Combs. Oh, she was scared. I would be too, kind of, actually. Yeah, Cudi testified. We read that part last week. Jury shown Ventura's 2011 email detailing Combs' threats. The jury again saw the email Cassie sent Capricorn Clark and her mother on December 23rd, 2011, under the alias Veronica Bang, referencing the threats from Diddy, Combs to Ventura and Kid Cudi. Clark testified she can't remember if she responded to the email. Clark says she saw Combs repeatedly kick Cassie. Good. Yeah, he did. Cheating does not equal unaliving. Right, right. I agree. Face cutting is a traditional punishment to a HOE from their him. Oh my gosh. Take the beauty from her. But wait, is that even like a thing? Because I think even if Cassie's face was cut up, I think she would still be super pretty. Maybe he knew that. Maybe that made him extra angry? Question mark. I don't know. He's sick. I think he needs to be in a mental institution. Or no, prison. I don't know. This man is sick. I'm referring to Puff Daddy, Diddy, Sean, Love, whatever his name is. Capricorn clicked that after Diddy allegedly broke into Kid Cudi's home, she approached Cassie, who was still with Kid Cudi. Clark told him, if you tell on him, he's going to hurt us all. Again, I'm sorry, according to Clark, Cassie responded by asking her, do you really think he will? Clark said that Cassie then went with Clark to Diddy's LA rental home. Combs was in a robe and underwear and immediately began kicking Cassie. Clark testified. Clark said she and the security guard stood by as Combs repeatedly kicked Ventura. Clark said that Diddy threatened to hurt her too if she tried to stop him from hurting Cassie. Clark said she left after the security guard told her to leave and Ventura was still on the ground while Diddy continued to kick her. Clark said that she called Cassie's mom, Regina, after she left the property. Please help her. I can't call the police, but you can, Clark recalled telling Cassie's mom. Regina Ventura said she would handle it and hung up. She testified last week. Hey, Barry. Yeah, CW. Mental institution for the criminally insane. Dude, I don't know where the right place for him is. HE double. Well, what does Nancy Grace say? HE double hockey sticks. Is that what she says? Something like that. Combs threatened unaliving. Wait. Combs threatened murder if police were told about Combs' break-in involvement. Clark testified about what happened directly after the episode in which she says Diddy and a security guard were at Kid Cudi's home in December 2011. Clark, Combs and his security guard went to a nearby nightclub. She said Diddy directed Clark to tell Cassie and tell her that he has me and he's not going to let me go until I come get her. On the phone, Cassie responded that Clark should come get her. Combs then said she and Cassie needed to convince Kid Cudi to not tell the police that Combs was involved in the break-in at Kid Cudi's home. Capricorn testifies. Combs told her, if you guys don't convince him of that, I'll unalive you all. Oh my gosh. Clark warned Cassie that Kid Cudi was in danger. Clark, a former employee of Diddy, warned Cassie that Kid Cudi shouldn't face off against Diddy. Clark testified that she told Cassie, stop him. He's going to get himself unalived. Cassie said she couldn't stop him. Clark testified that she understood Kid Cudi was on his way to the house. When Combs got back in the car, he asked Clark who had been talking to. He called Cassie's burner phone, which was the last record in Clark's call log. Diddy, furious, said, BITCH, what the F is this number? A short time later, Kid Cudi pulled up next to Combs' Escalade outside his home and then accelerated away. Diddy's vehicle followed in pursuit. It felt like forever, but couldn't have been longer than a minute, Clark testified. Clark testifies that she called Ventura while Combs was in Kid Cudi's house. Is giving more details about what happened after Diddy Combs showed up at her home in December 2011. She said that she and Diddy got into the back seat of the car that one of his security guards was driving. Their gun was in Combs' lap. Oh, sorry, I forget. I have to censor these words. YouTube coming to me. Did he beat her in front of her mom? I don't think so. Oh my gosh, I hope not. I legitimately worry about Cassie and her family safety. I do too. Good point. Good point, Jules. I do too. I worry about everybody who's testifying. You never know. Um, they drove to Kid Cudi's house where Diddy said the security guard entered the home. Clark said she stayed in the car, called Cassie on a burner phone. She testified that she told Cassie that Combs had come to her house with a GUN and then gone to Kid Cudi's house to unalive him. She said she then changed Cassie's name in the phone to the name Stormy so Combs wouldn't know she called Cassie. Clark said she could hear someone yelling, quote unquote, "He's in my house" in the background when they were on the phone, and Cassie told her she was with Kid Cudi. Combs showed up to Clark's home with a GUN and threatened to go on a live. Okay, we did read that part. One day in December 2011, Diddy showed up to Clark's home banging on the door. According to Clark, she said she could see through the peephole that Combs' pants were split up the inseam from the knee upward, exposing his underwear. When she opened the door, Clark saw that he was holding a GUN and was furious. Combs, entering her home, said, "Why didn't you tell me?" and asked her about Kid Cudi. Clark testified that Combs, still holding the GUN, told her, "Get dressed, we're going to unalive him." Oh, that's when she had to go with him. When she tried to protest, Combs said, "I don't give an F what you want to do, get dressed." Clark said she was afraid, and this was the first time Diddy had been in her LA home. Clark said that Diddy was livid, furious, mad at me. I had never seen him with a weapon. I had never seen him making me do something like this. Angry Puff. I was worried about the voice, not Quincy. I think he's one strange. Clark's voice has been quivering as she testified. Capricorn Clark's voice has been quivering through much of her testimony. She was worried Combs would learn of Ventura's relationship with Kid Cudi. Clark and Ventura sometimes would hang out. Clark, Ventura, and Kid Cudi sometimes would hang out. One time, Cassie texted her asking if they could pick up Kid Cudi, and Clark told Cassie to delete the text because Combs paid for both of their phones. Oh, so she was even scared to text about it. Clark said she was very concerned about Combs finding out about the relationship between Cassie and Kid Cudi. Clark then took Cassie to Best Buy to buy a burner phone. Combs had final say over Cassie's appearance. Ugh, he looks gross. I don't know. He controlled her appearance. Next employer returning to Combs in new role after 2006 incident. I didn't want that close proximity. So she goes back to work for him and works for Cassie, basically. Combs told ex-assistant she couldn't have a life while working for him. Capricorn Clark testifies that she recounted a time she was at Diddy's home in the summer of 2006. She said when she arrived, Diddy told her, "I don't care what goes on the weekend. You are not to leave this house." Oh my gosh. Diddy later directed Clark to escort a guest to another location in Miami, and she said she stayed for about an hour before receiving a call from Diddy asking where she was. Clark said she returned to Diddy's home. He told her, quote unquote, "See, your problem is you want a life and you can't have that here." And again, told her not to leave the house. The following day, Clark said she told Combs' chef, "I hate it here," and the chef relayed that to Combs. He immediately looked at me and said, "You hate it here?" And he charged me, Clark testified. Oh, who's a cook? Why are you snitching? Why are you being a snitch? King and Christian could take over Diddy's business. I don't think that they're necessarily like, I mean, I don't know them personally. I'll hang out with them, but are they like good people? Question mark. She said Combs began pushing, and I know I can't judge him based off of their parents, but in this case, I might just a little bit. She said Combs began pushing her around and demanding she get out of the house. Clark said Diddy pushed her about 30 yards using 75% of his force. Eventually, Combs, one of the guards, intervened. Clark counted 1,000 euros in club earnings for Combs that he made from bookings in Europe. She said she personally counted the cash and believed Combs kept it in his personal safe in his bedroom. Must be nice. Ex-employee describes what she says was Combs' rug use. True. Right? Capricorn Clark says she saw Diddy doing E and Molly once a week, in addition to prescription medication. Ugh. No wonder he was a big meanie. Not an excuse, but you know what I mean? Like coming down from all of that can't feel good. Combs' rug use was increased over time. A man called One Stop usually provided the rugs when they were in LA, and the rugs usually were delivered to her or Diddy directly. Diddy asked her to get him E fewer than 10 times, she said. Clark said Diddy offered rugs to his friends and girlfriends. During a trip to France in 2006, Diddy asked her to get Coca-Cola. And when asked Diddy who it was for, Combs responded that it wasn't for him, she testified. Clark then had the security guard obtain the rugs. Clark would also get prescription rugs for Diddy, she said. Sometimes the prescriptions were made out to her. Other times they were made out to Combs. Oh, yeah. No, that's not good. Prosecutors need to show criminal meeting of the minds to prove conspiracy charge, legal analyst says. It seems to me that prosecutors have decided to start with this bucket: Cassie, her testimony, and then all of the testimony that corroborates her, says CNN reporter. But I think the jury is thinking about this conspiracy. You need two people to criminally conspire for this racketeering conspiracy to work. Oh, yeah, because who else was involved with the RICO that they're charging? Combs used aliases for hotel, traveled with rugs and cameras. His rooms were usually reserved under Frank Black or Frank White. We did read that earlier in the trial. What weird names. The name Frank Black was referenced to late rapper and Bad Boy Records B.I.G., who had the nickname of Frank White. Why was he doing that? That's creepy. I would have packed all of his clothes and shoes and personal belongings and put them in their place. Diddy traveled with a toiletry bag containing rugs and a camera box, which had 4 cameras along with a small bottle of baby oil and a small bottle of lube. Clark said she would also bring candles to provide lighting in the rooms. After Combs' stay, Clark said she would sweep the room for anything left behind. She said she sometimes saw the damage to the rooms, including handprints left in oil. What? Oh my gosh. I'm just like wondering. Remember, like I said it in the other live, like was there just baby oil just dripping down the walls? Like, he makes me sick. Right, Jojo? Clark was due $80K for 3 months of overtime, but wasn't paid. Dude, $80K. Continues to testify about her early employment under Diddy when she was his personal assistant from 2004 to 2006. At one point, a human resource representative from Bad Boy presented Combs with a sheet that calculated what Clark was owed overtime, $80,000 for a 3-month period. He ripped up the paper. She was never compensated for the time. Wow. Grilling hours as Combs' assistant led to stress-induced alopecia. Typically worked from 9 a.m. until 4 a.m. as Combs' personal assistant without breaks or meals. Combs told her that if she failed to complete any task, she would lose her job, she testified. She said that on a good night, she got 4 hours of sleep and developed stress-induced alopecia. Clark made $65,000 annually at that time. Oh, heck no. Combs' ex-assistant says she took multiple lie detectors after he accused her of stealing. I was petrified, Clark said. At one point, the man administering the test told her she needed to calm down because the results were inconclusive. I'm not getting a good reading. You need to. You're going to be in the East River. If I can't get a reading on this, Clark recalled the man saying. Wow. So he was like a paid employee by Diddy or what? I couldn't calm down, she said. Eventually, one of Diddy's security guards took her home and picked her up the next day to repeat the same process. Clark testified she was taken to the same vacant office building for questioning with a lie detector for 5 days straight. She said she didn't want to do it, thought the lie detector was the only way to prove her innocence. She said she didn't report the incident to the police because she worked under a non-disclosure agreement. Judge Sumranian sustained a defense objection to the testimony about the ND and told the jury to disregard it. After 5 days for tests, Combs security told Clark she could return to work. Clark testified that Diddy never asked her where she was during those 5 days, and he never mentioned lie detector tests to her. She didn't know if the jewelry was ever found. Combs accuses her of stealing the jewelry. Accused her of stealing diamond jewelry that was on a loan to him from a jeweler. Clark had been assigned to hold the jewelry as they traveled from New York to Miami. She realized the bag holding the jewelry was missing before they got to the airport. Combs went to Miami, leaving Clark with a security guard who questioned her for hours and then searched her apartment. The next day, the security guard picked her up from the home and left her in a locked vacant office space with another man who administered the lie detector test on her. She remembers Diddy discussing GUNS. Clark, Combs, and his then manager got into an elevator after Combs did an MTV event that also involved rapper 50 Cent. Combs told elevator companions he had an issue with 50 Cent, and after further conversation, Diddy said, "I don't do that. I like GUNS." Combs' demeanor was very serious. Combs' former assistant says he threatened her on the first day. He told me he didn't know that I had anything to do with Suge Knight, and if anything happened, he would have to unalive me. The security guard stood by silently while Combs threatened her. She said she told Combs at the time, "We'll just have to see." She testified that she felt she couldn't convince him she was trustworthy at the time and said she could have been more transparent about her employment background. Former Combs employee began music career at Def Jam. Calm down or you end up in a river. I know, right? Peppermint Clark, the former director of marketing for Diddy, said she has been involved in the music industry since shortly after graduating from high school, when she landed an internship with Def Jam Records. She said both of her parents died shortly after that, which meant she had to start life a lot earlier. After Def Jam, she worked for Death Row Records, which Suge Knight then managed. Around 2004, she started working for Combs at Bad Boy Entertainment as his personal assistant, she said. After briefly leaving in 2006, she returned to work for Combs in 2007 as a director of marketing for Sean John Women's Clothing. She became a global brand director in 2008 before she being terminated in 2012. Prosecutors still have work to do to prove the case against Diddy, legal analyst says. LA fire investigator to testify later about the fire set to Kid Cudi's car. I can't wait to hear that. Is expected to testify. Was that today or is that tomorrow? Is expected to say that he concluded the fire was deliberately set and caused by a Molotov cocktail. Over an objection from the prosecutors, the judge said the defense can ask the investigator about his report that says partial female DNA recovered from the glass bottle used to create the explosive. Whose female DNA? I've been wondering that. Hey, Thomas. Judge takes the bench as Sean Diddy Combs trial enters 3-week testimony. Victim 3 is not expected to testify, but she is, right? Tomorrow, Jane Doe. Catch up on One Habit. Okay, we already know that. Kid Cudi. So just a recap. Oh, here's a look at who has taken the stand so far. So we saw Israel Flores, a security guard, Danielle Phillip, a Mel Revu manager who said he was paid to have SCX with Cassie. Yassine Binda, a Homeland Security Investigation Special Agent who participated in the raid. Don Richard, a former member of Danity Kane. Carrie Morgan, Cassie's former best friend. David James, one of Diddy's former assistants. Then we heard from Regina, who is Cassie's mom. Sheree Hayes, the male exotic dancer known as the Punisher. Gerard Gannon, a Homeland Security Investigations Agent. Don Hughes, a forensic psychologist. George Kaplan, one of Combs' former assistant. Kid Cudi, we know who that is, the rapper. Milo Morales, the makeup artist. Frederick Zemore, the general manager of the El Hermitage Hotel. And Joshua Croft, a computer forensic agent with Home Security Investigations. That's wild. Okay. Since we read through that, I'm going to play a clip of the trial today, and then I want to play the Cassie um, clip. And this is just from Law and Crime, like little recaps that I like from them. Let's see.
What impact will this have on the RICO case, right? The racketeering conspiracy. Talk to us about this, Safa.
Going to have a significant impact on the RICO charges, because one of the things that the government has to prove is that there's an underlying predicate offense within a 10-year period to substantiate the RICO charge. The government last week had testimony with respect to the arson in Kid Cudi's vehicle, which is one of the predicate offenses that they would have to prove. Kidnapping is also another predicate offense they have to prove. So if the government can show that Mr. Combs used threats of force or physical violence by way of using a firearm, which is a significant threat of force and would cause someone to fear for their life, they can prove the kidnapping. And based on Capricorn Clark's testimony this morning, I think they're on a pretty good path to proving that.
I think the testimony, Cameron, about what the employees went through, what was required of them, even if you go back to one of these former assistants saying that it was Sean Combs' kingdom and we all did what he wanted. One of the things that she testified to is that she had to take a lie detector test. Capricorn Clark had to take a lie detector test. One of the questions is, Danny asks, why did Diddy make Capricorn take a lie detector test? Did she pass or fail? I think it might have had something to do with whether or not she stole jewelry. But, that's an important aspect of this case as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, these are people going under incredibly toxic conditions to work. They each probably have their own basis for separate lawsuits against them, from, unpaid wages to, like I mentioned, hostile work environment, to failure to prevent discrimination and retaliation. Living and working under those conditions, typically that, I represent plaintiffs, and those are the exact working conditions that lead to multiple lawsuits against the same employer. So, the testimony from the employees, it's not just one person saying it, multiple people corroborating the same work environment lends absolute credence to it.
So we also get questions in from not just on YouTube, but we get emails. And there was one that struck us last week. I got to repeat it. I'm going to go to you, Safa. This is an email question from Jamie. I've been watching Law and Crime to keep me updated on the Diddy trial. Thank you all for the information. You're welcome. I've heard people on your show and others say that the prosecution's witnesses are providing testimony to show that Cassie was forced and coerced to comply with Diddy's sex fantasy demands in order to support sex trafficking charges. There are men who sexually, physically, financially, and emotionally abuse women using force, fraud, or coercion all the time. It seems that in order for Diddy's crimes to qualify for commercial sex trafficking, someone would have needed to purchase a victim, i.e. Cassie, from Diddy for the purpose of sex acts. It seems that is why Diddy's crimes wouldn't qualify for sex trafficking, because it's not commercial that we've heard of yet. Why isn't anyone talking about that? Am I missing something? And then there's also a tagline. Also, still don't understand what RICO is. So, Safa, I'll give the floor to you. Is it about purchasing Cassie for sex trafficking? And also, if you want to give a real quick 4-sentence definition about what RICO is.
So really quickly, RICO is a racketeering, influenced, and corrupt organization, which essentially means that you have a criminal enterprise that engages in a pattern of behavior that would further that criminal enterprise. There's a few predicate offenses. Some of them include bribery, kidnapping, arson, other things like that. And essentially those would go to prove to further the enterprise, so to speak. So that is basically what a RICO is, first and foremost. Now, with respect to the sex trafficking charges here in the indictment, it's not that Cassie was the one that was purchased for sexual activity, but that they purchased sex workers, so to speak, in order to engage in sexual acts with Cassie, which is why the government had a number of male sex workers that testified with respect to, who they worked for, when they became engaged with Mr. Combs and Cassie Ventura, when they traveled, or if they traveled from state to state, because there is a transportation and commerce component to that as well. So it's that Mr. Combs essentially purchased these sex or commercial sex workers, transported them via state lines or across state lines for the purposes of engaging in commercial sexual activity with Ms. Ventura.
Saf, I just want to follow up about one point on this. So we actually have
Wait, okay, so is that SEX trafficking? Is it? I'm confused. I don't know what
a
to think.
sidebar coming out later
I mean,
tonight
I
about
do
whether or
think
not the
it is.
prosecution at this point has proved sex trafficking. So I encourage everybody to check it out. But the reason I bring it up is one of the questions I posed there, I'm going to throw to you. Is it also commercial sex, whether or not, putting aside what was paid to these sex workers, if something of value was provided or promised to Cassandra Ventura, is that make it commercial sex? Is it only about the sex workers, or is it something of value, or whether it was gifts or trips or financial dependency or career promises? Is that commercial sex for sex trafficking?
To an extent, but more so you see it often with respect to the exchange of currency. Could gifts and things of that nature make a showing of commercial sex acts? Possibly. But again, with respect to these charges, I don't think that the government is proving exactly that Ms. Ventura was the person that was the basis for the commercial sex act,
Right.
but that these sex workers that were purchased through this company were the individuals that were commercially or they were the commercial sex workers. So I think it's really with respect to those individuals, which I think interestingly enough begs the question of this particular company, which seems to be a legitimized company, employing these sex workers for individuals to purchase.
I'm going to throw it over to you now, Cameron. By the way, and I correct me if I'm wrong, am I mispronouncing your name? Is it Cameron or Cameron? I keep looking and I'm wondering.
Did he traffic Cassie,
Cameron,
or was it just some freaky SEX stuff and they paid sex workers all over the world? Like, I don't know.
I'm a child of
I definitely think he abused her. Don't get me wrong.
They spelled it quite an interesting way, but it's Cameron.
Oh, there you go. Okay, well, there you go, Cameron. So we got a question from Mikey John. Do you think Usher is on the witness list? He's known Diddy for a long time, even lived with him. I'm sure he must know something. And let me just couple that. Dawn Richard last week, I believe it was last week, testified that she observed Diddy punch Cassie in front of high-profile celebrities like Usher, which I have said goes to the idea of the power dynamic. So big factor for the jury to consider is, why didn't Cassie leave? Why didn't she step forward? Why didn't she fight back? Why didn't she report Combs? Well, if that allegation is true and the jury accepts it, that he could beat her up in front of these people and nobody steps in, nobody does anything, that shows the power of Combs. What is she expected to do? Do you think Usher's going to be called to the stand?
Yeah, he absolutely could be. That's a great point.
Oh, I didn't even think of
his testimony is
Usher.
absolutely relevant to show the domestic abuse, to show the forced nature of the relationship and the freak offs. So as high profile as he is, and maybe without this testimony,
Usher got it bad thinking he doesn't have to
some
come
sort
up
of a
there. I
fight
wonder
to
if he is.
avoid having him testify, because it is obviously burdensome and difficult at times. But I think it is absolutely relevant in this case. So we could definitely see him on the stand. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
And the witness list is sealed, so we don't really know who's going to take the stand until it's announced at the end of the day. Oh, this person's going to be testifying tomorrow. That's kind of how we knew Capricorn Clark was going to testify today. And I'll just follow up.
Do we think Usher is going to testify? Do we?
Another question for you, Cameron. This is
What
from
about
Sam
50 Cent?
K. Are
No?
there celebrities, like big name actors, going to testify?
I would think definitely. I think there's, this level of credibility that you have for a celebrity who has nothing to gain to come and testify. You saw that with Kate Moss in the Johnny Depp trial. And even Johnny.
I think definitely morally, a lot of these things are wrong and horrible and terrifying. But if ex workers are traveling from Miami to LA to work, I mean, is that traveling? If that's what their job is? The abuse, yes. But it's not like he had a truck filled with, people, a Penske truck filled with women that he was, selling across the border or something like that. I don't know. No Usher. No? Okay. What sucks?
Johnny Depp's attorney said Kate Moss has no reason to lie. She doesn't want to be here, right? So I think testimony from people like Kid Cudi, Usher, other celebrities where they really don't want to be there.
He probably did.
And presumably are telling the truth because of that reason, are going to be really credible and impactful for the jury.
But for the prosecutor's point of view, you would also have to imagine, do they want it to get this far? Do they, they don't want to call like a J-Lo or a Justin Bieber, right, Cameron? Because then it just confuses what the case is about.
No. We want to hear from J-Lo and Bieber. We do.
I think they're trying to be as specific as possible.
We need to know
who the victims are, who the escorts are, what the charges are. Because if you take every allegation against Sean Combs in the past 2 years from every civil lawsuit, putting aside the fact whether it's even relevant to the federal case, I don't think they want an expansive case like that.
Yes and no, and I think Safa could speak more intelligently about this, but usually prosecutors want to give as much evidence as possible and kind of almost beat a dead horse over and over, showing all the bad acts. They're presenting their case first, all that evidence comes in for the jury, and it's pretty impactful. So I don't know if the prosecution, especially in this case, with the mountain of evidence that they have from the federal indictments and the raids, are going to say, okay, I think we have enough, and let's not confuse the jury. I think the jury, when they have enough bad facts and enough credible witnesses, they'll figure out a way on one of the charges to get a conviction.
I'll throw that to you, Safa, if you have an opinion about it.
Yeah, because J-Lo carried the pew-pew for him, right? That would be interesting to bring into this trial.
I would agree with Cameron. But not only that, I always think, and this is more of a style approach, is when you're telling the truth isn't complicated. So I don't think that you need, a bunch of witnesses to repeatedly tell the same thing. You want to get in, you want to get out, and you want to give impactful testimony for the jury to take away and consider. Now, it would be beneficial for the government to have these very notable people testify to the same thing, and, the jurors are humans. They are going to be fascinated by some of the people that come to testify in the witness stand, especially if you do have an Usher or J-Lo or somebody of that stature. But I don't think it's necessary with respect to the government's case. Not only that, I think with the domestic violence component, which essentially goes to show the threat of force and physical violence, I think we've heard quite a bit of testimony from Ms. Ventura herself, from Capricorn Clark, from Mr. Mascotti, and a bunch of other witnesses that would corroborate that. So I think the government's doing a pretty good job. They can certainly include some of these additional witnesses. I don't think it's actually necessary. But to Mr. Cameron's point, they're going to want to put as much as they can and throw the whole kitchen sink to get their conviction.
Saf, I want to follow up with another question. There's been a lot of talk about alleged victim number 3. Maybe can't find this person, not going to be able to testify. It was a big development leading into this trial. So we got a question from NLin93. And before I read this question, it presumes a lot and makes a lot of accusations. Just put it there. So NLin93 asks, is it okay, legal, for Diddy to pay off Gina to not testify? So assuming Gina is alleged victim number 3 and assuming that's what he did. And if so, will the prosecutors know before it's too late in this case? Safa?
When is Gina? Is that who Mia is? Jane Doe?
Is
or is Mia
illegal. He cannot do that. That is witness tampering. That's bribery. He would be subject to new criminal charges if he were to do that. Could the government be informed that he did do this or allegedly do this prior to the end of trial? I'm sure, there's an interesting question as to why whoever victim number 3 is, why they didn't testify or why they have not testified as of yet, if they are still missing in action. And I do believe that victim 3 has an attorney. So it's interesting to see how their attorney is playing into this, because generally speaking, when us as defense attorneys, we have a client testify, we are in constant communication with that person. So the last thing I heard, which I'm not sure if it's true, was that the government had not heard from the witness or I believe it's her attorney, but we'll see. But that is illegal.
Yeah, and right. We have no evidence to suggest that's what Diddy has done or allegedly did, which, by the way, Cameron, goes to another question we have from Nicole RZV. In high-profile cases like this, is it possible for the defense team to pay some witnesses to refuse to take the stand or to testify falsely?
Yeah, no. This would be incredibly
It's possible.
Yeah, yes, you're right. It is absolutely possible. It would be one of the stupidest things for any lawyer to ever do, or for either party. So let's not anticipate anything like that happening.
Cameron, let me throw another question to you. This is from Psych Michael. Where is the evidence of RICO, meaning racketeering? We get it. He's a bad dude, but he's not on trial for that. Where is the RICO evidence?
Yeah, I think it's in all the employees working together. It's in Diddy forcing them to do what he wants. Him being, what you referred to earlier as a mob boss. And it's kind of what we call the spoken wheel conspiracy,
Forcing them.
where he's leading the charge, and everyone else is complying with everything he's doing, and they don't really have a choice. Whether they did have a choice or not is sort of actually irrelevant. But the point is that there's multiple people across states, across the country, helping him facilitate these illegal acts.
And Safa, let me follow that up. I mean, sure, there's different elements of it. There's different components. So it's racketeering, conspiracy. So the more the employees will say, we know what the job was. It was to serve his interest. It was to benefit him. It was to benefit what he wanted. That goes to this kind of agreement. But isn't it true they could convict him of racketeering, conspiracy without all of the freak-offs, without all of the sex trafficking? Because some of the underlying crimes can be separate and apart from that. Kidnapping, arson, bribery, the drug offenses. If the jury goes, I don't know if Cassandra Ventura was sex trafficked, but I think that there was crimes afoot. I think that Sean Combs was a part of this criminal organization. I think he had all of his employees doing his bidding. And we actually believe that he committed crime X, Y, and Z. Am I right about that?
Yeah, that's what I feel, Dutch. It's one trial opposed to many individual trials.
Absolutely right, Jesse. And the government can do that. The jury can come back not guilty with respect to the sex trafficking charges, but they can come back guilty on the RICO charges. So they have everything the jurors are going to consider everything that's been placed before them at the trial. With respect to the RICO charge, again, taking sex trafficking aside, you have these underlying offenses, which people have testified to. There has been evidence that's been brought in to make at least a showing that these things did occur. So even if the jury is not going to consider, I don't really think this was sex trafficking. I don't think Ms. Ventura is a victim with respect to sex trafficking. They can still consider the RICO charge in and of itself and the underlying predicate offenses that have been independently proven to make a finding of guilty.
By the way, in about 5 minutes or so, they're going to come back. Obviously, there's no cameras in the courtroom. There's no audio equipment in the courtroom, but we're going to get live reporting once again. Once there's a continuation of testimony. And once there is, we will report in real time what that testimony is, and we will break it down for you in real time, as well as take your questions in this case. So Cameron, got a question for you. This is from Vanessa. Do you think the lack of vocal support from celebrities is very telling to the jury? Nobody's come to Diddy's aid and defend him. Well, in all fairness, it hasn't gone to his side yet. His case hasn't started yet. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they realize it's a really tricky situation, and there's a lot of evidence against them. So their PR teams are pretty sophisticated, I would think, each celebrity, and they will say, absolutely do not touch this under any circumstance, even if there is some support. That would not be a good idea. But it does also lend credence to the fact that some of these allegations are true, because if you had an overwhelming number of people saying, it wasn't, it would be hard for all these publicists and PR companies to be working, together to prevent that from getting out.
Okay,
I think
thank you,
the
Sophie.
character and the conduct are coming to light.
We got a question here from Safa. Safa, did you put an own question from you to yourself? I hope you did. If not, we got another Safa here.
I did not.
Okay. Yeah, I think you did. But
I like Jesse. I really like Jesse. I do. Thank you, Sophie, for bringing up the Ashley case. That's my favorite case. I actually saw Law and Crime had the body cam footage, and I was like, I got it all.
Safa, got a question from you from Safa. What are the accusations? Why are the accusations in the Lil Rod case not being discussed? It shows even more RICO. So just to provide a little context here, talking about Lil Rod Jones, one of the first people to file a lawsuit against Sean Combs, I believe in February 2024. His former producer made a ton of accusations that he was basically assaulted by Combs, harassed by Combs, that he was groomed into homosexual sex for Combs, said he was a witness to violence, that he was sex trafficked. He alleged violations of the RICO laws. But I remember leading up to this case, there was a filing where the defense had said that the government's not going to be calling producer one. I made it the point at the time, I think that's Lil Rod. Maybe, I mean, if that's the truth, is that because what? That his allegations might not be relevant?
Where is Lil Rod?
Weak?
They definitely could be irrelevant. They definitely could be weak. I mean, I'm not too familiar with the lawsuit, but what I will say is there's probably some truth to it, and probably some things that may not be completely true. And the government is going to be very careful about who they pick as their witnesses. They want individuals who have, they're credible witnesses. They usually don't like to call people to testify. And I don't know what Mr. Rod, his background is, but individuals who have a heavy background or heavy criminal history, they want to stay away from individuals like that. I don't know if that's his case. I think that because he filed a civil suit as well, that gives him a motive to testify in a particular way, which the defense can certainly attack if he's on the stand. Now, again, if some of the things taken are true, could they be relevant? Absolutely. But does the government need to use him as a witness? Would they truly benefit in having him testify? They may not. So they've probably stayed away from him.
I'm curious, did he going to be like a Epstein thing kind of thing, or is it going to be like a Wade Wilson type of thing where we're going to be listening to all the calls? Okay, let's watch a clip on Capricorn Clark, and then we'll watch Cassie AI.
Happened in the case so far, where you think the case is going to go, submit them on YouTube, and me and my great panel of guests are going to break them down. But before I bring in my guests, I got to bring on right now Elizabeth Milner, law and crimes reporter, who has been in that courtroom in New York federal court every single day of testimony, including today. Elizabeth, it's great to see you. I will ask you about what the vibe is and what we're seeing in the court in a minute, but I have to start with the testimony of Capricorn Clark. So this former assistant to Sean Combs, we knew she was going to take the stand. She had been mentioned last week during Kid Cudi's testimony. I want to take this in pieces if I can. So, because I know we have a little bit of time with you. So just talk to me real quick about how she began her testimony and how she started working for Sean Combs. And then we'll move into more of the specific allegations regarding Kid Cudi.
Yeah, well, Jesse, from what Capricorn Clark said while on the stand today, she said that she and Diddy actually go back before she actually started working with him. She said she met him around 2002, and then from there, later on, that's when she started getting into his employment around 2004, between 2004 to 2006. So when she was first brought on, she was brought on as a personal assistant, and she said actually on the first day of the job, she was taken to Central Park. And you might think, oh, we're going to go to Central Park. It's going to be great. But that's not really how she described her first day on the job. She said she went there with Sean Combs, Diddy, and she also went there with Paul Alford. Now, who is Paul Alford? He's actually the security guard that we've known about for a number of testimony, right? But she's actually talking about Uncle Paulie. And so she said that she was brought to Central Park with them. And then she kind of gets into why they would go to Central Park. And it was essentially to threaten Capricorn Clark. Why? Because she actually used to work with Death Row. And who was the CEO of Death Row? That is Suge Knight, one of Diddy's many arch nemesis. And so she said that she described her previous relationship with Suge Knight as he is actually the father of her best friend's children. So she does not have a personal, like, intimate relationship with Suge Knight necessarily, but she just knows of him and knows him a little bit closer, mainly because of her best friend, and that he is the father of her best friend's children. And so when she was taken to Central Park around this time, this being in 2004, she said that Diddy told her he'd kill her if she had anything to do with Suge Knight. Then there was an objection raised in court. The defense obviously objecting to that statement, but the government continued to ask her about this alleged threat. And she being Capricorn Clark, had explained that Diddy was relatively calm while delaying this kind of message to her. She said that during this kind of meetup at Central Park, or during this meeting, that Uncle Paulie said nothing. He was calm as well, too. He was a little stoic from her description
Uncle
of it.
Paulie.
And she said, as far as the response to the threat goes, she says, well, we'll just have to see. But Capricorn said while she was on the stand that she should have just been more transparent about her relationship with Suge Knight. And that's when we start getting into the exhibit photos of just some of the security guards that we've seen a number of times through these exhibits. So we were shown a photo of D-Rock, who Capricorn Clark explained was a good friend of Biggie Smalls. D-Rock actually came on board after Capricorn Clark. Then we're showing an exhibit photo of Ruben, who's actually D-Rock's little brother. And she explained that D-Rock, or excuse me, that Ruben came after Capricorn Clark, and so did, she said that Ruben came after Capricorn Clark, same as D-Rock. And then as far as Roger Bonds, we already saw an exhibit photo of him, but we saw that again today. And she explained that Roger Bonds started around the time that Capricorn Clark did. So this was around that 2004 time frame. And then slowly we start to get into the guns. And Capricorn had said that she had observed Diddy with a gun while she was being kidnapped. And obviously we're going to divulge and take that piece by piece in just a little bit. But the government asked her,
is that kidnapping? You guys think, in your opinion, let me know. Is that kidnapping? What happened with Clark? And then do you think he's going to be guilty or not guilty in the court of law?
No. That Diddy has discussed having a gun before, because there was this whole, press thing, an interview that Diddy had done with 50 Cent. And we all know Diddy's relationship with 50 Cent is not the best. And so I guess for who she refers to as Puff,
50 Cent wilding out on Instagram.
Diddy's manager around that time said that Diddy said, I don't like the back and forth. I like guns. And Puff, or Diddy, or Sean Combs, as we're calling him, was actually talking about 50 Cent during that exchange. So that was automatically the start of the testimony, already going off with a little bit of fireworks after kind of going into how she came to work with Diddy.
Yeah, look, when you're dealing with a racketeering case, we've said it before, we'll say it again, having the assistants, the bodyguard, the security, the people that were in that inner circle is imperative, because you're trying to understand the inner workings of this criminal enterprise or this organization. But also, Diddy is ultimately charged in a racketeering conspiracy case alone. There's no other defendants. So you wonder, who did he allegedly do all of these things with? Who did he engage in this pattern of criminal activity with? But the reason she is also important is because I believe she is being used to help prove some of the underlying crimes for racketeering. When you're talking about racketeering conspiracy, the prosecution needs to prove at least 2 underlying crimes. So there's sex trafficking, there's arson, there's kidnapping, there's bribery. But more specifically, what did she say regarding kidnapping? And what did she say, I believe, that may help support the forced labor allegation? Again, really, really important for racketeering. What did Capricorn Clark have to say today?
Yeah, she said a lot, Jesse. Sometimes I just have to go through my notes to see just where everything is that she had been talking about. But as far as just the kidnapping goes, and I just want to apologize, everyone. I know my voice is a little hoarse, so if it scratches off a little bit here and there, I apologize for that. But so as far as the kidnapping,
organized crime,
that stems from 2011. And what do we know that happens in 2011, specifically around December of that time frame? That is when we start to kind of get into the Kid Cudi and Cassie relationship. Obviously, a very huge talking point throughout a lot of this testimony, especially last week, kind of trickling into this week. And so around this 2011 time frame, Capricorn Clark is no longer Diddy's personal assistant. Now she's a global brand director. So she's around 28 years old around this time. But she said around this time frame, she was also working as Cassie's creative director and manager too. So kind of pulling those double roles. And she said as far as that role of being a creative director, it was kind of about maximizing the optics for Cassie. And so as far as just everything with the Kid Cudi incident, Capricorn Clark explained that Cassie was seeing Kid Cudi in December of 2011. We already know this, but Cassie had asked around this time frame whether or not Kid Cudi could come on a hike with Capricorn and Cassie. And Capricorn actually said that this was going to be a bad idea because Capricorn was concerned whether or not Diddy would find out about this. And so Capricorn was explaining that Diddy had bought her phone. And so he was worried, or she was worried about Diddy seeing these text messages come through from Cassie, kind of explaining that she wanted to bring Kid Cudi on this hike that they were doing together. And so Capricorn actually explained on the stand today that she was the one who brought Cassie in to buy that burner phone. So that way it wouldn't be traced back to Cassie. That way they could talk without Diddy finding out. So that was kind of a big.
Imagine being a super pretty rich celebrity who can have anything basically, and you're buying a burner phone. Wait, I need to look up Rico. I know they explain the definition. Pattern of racketeering. Am I allowed to say Rico on YouTube? That used to be my dog's name, so. Pattern of racketeering activity means engaging in at least 2 incidents of racketeering activity that have the same or similar intent, results, accomplices, victims, or methods of commission, or otherwise are interrelated by distinguishing characteristics, including a nexus to the same enterprise, are not isolated incidents. It encompasses a wide range of crimes, including bribery, extortion, fraud, money laundering, obstruction of justice. Individuals can be charged under RICO if they engage in the affairs of enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. It also makes it illegal to invest income derived from racketeering activities. Rug crimes, when criminal enterprises engage in pattern of racketeering related to the production, distribution, trafficking of rugs. He was definitely distributing. Was he producing them? Producing them to the people, but he wasn't like making them in his house. Or traffic.
Revelation that we learned today, because Capricorn had explained that she got Cassie this burner phone, or she went with her to Best Buy to buy this burner phone.
That's true, K-Brace.
That they would all get killed. There is an objection made by the defense, obviously, because
Diablo.
Oh my God, this is now another time where Diddy allegedly threatened to kill either Capricorn Clark or Cassie or somebody in just that fashion. But the objection was sustained, so that part is struck from the record. But Capricorn said she all of a sudden was hearing a loud banging at her apartment. And so she said that she looked through the peephole of her apartment door and she saw that Diddy was upset. He was pacing. His body language looked like something was kind of in his hand. So Capricorn Clark opened the door and she said when she did, Diddy was still upset. She explained everything that he wore, from a button-down shirt, a sweater, that he had slacks that just happened to be ripped. And she said it exposed his underwear. But she said that Diddy had a gun in his hand whenever he was banging on her door. And so Diddy said to Capricorn Clark in a very angry way, "Why didn't you tell me who is Scott?" And as we know Scott to be Scott Mescudi, aka Kid Cudi. And so Diddy told Capricorn, "Get dressed. We're going to kill this N-word." That's what she said. And I will say here, Jesse, that Capricorn Clark, when she was on the stand, I wouldn't necessarily characterize it as being casual, but as far as just profanity is concerned, she very much just kind of laid it all out there as far as what was said, what words were used.
Yeah,
so
she did.
It did get a little profane during some aspects of her testimony. And so, yeah, Diddy had told her that they were going to go kill this person, and that person being Kid Cudi. And so during this testimony, I saw that Diddy was jotting down some notes during this. And so Capricorn said that she didn't want to go, but Diddy made her, and he put a gun in his waist, that same gun that he had in his hand, he put in his waist, and that Diddy still seemed mad, but this time mad at Capricorn. And Capricorn said that Diddy had.
Like, I'm literally worried for everyone who testified in this trial. I really am. Genuinely. I hope.
Never been to her house before. But once they were in the car, Diddy moved his gun from his waist to his lap.
People are evil.
But notably, Ruben, who we know as also Rue, but is also D-Rock's little brother, was the one who was driving the car. So it was the three of them, Capricorn, Diddy, and Ruben, aka Rue. And so Capricorn explained that she wasn't able to leave the Escalade, which I guess is the vehicle that they had driven down to. She said that everything was just happening so fast. There was no conversation going on, but they went from Capricorn Clark's home all the way down to Kid Cudi's house, or I guess all the way up to Kid Cudi's house in the Hollywood Hills. And then we're showing an exhibit photo of the Google map that shows kind of the direction of driving or direction of travel from Capricorn Clark's house to Kid Cudi's home. And then we see that same exhibit photo of Kid Cudi's front door. And so from there, Capricorn was kind of explaining she didn't know whether or not Kid Cudi was actually at his home, but Capricorn said that she had to stay in the car. Meanwhile, Ruben and Diddy went inside Kid Cudi's home.
We
Capricorn
kind of read
explained
through
that she had called Cassie and called Cassie's burner phone through all of this. And Capricorn had explained to Cassie, she said, "Cassie, what the F?" And she had told Cassie that she had brought She was brought to Kid Cudi's home
People need
essentially to be there so that way they could kill him. And Capricorn actually changed the name from Cassie's burner phone over to, like, I guess her best friend's name, because she didn't want Diddy to find out that she called her to give her the heads up. But guess what happens next? Diddy comes out and she said that while she was on the phone with Cassie, she could hear Kid Cudi on the phone telling Cassie that this man's in my house. Those weren't the exact words that were said, but you get what I'm going with that.
Dude.
But and Cassie was trying to stop him because he could have been killed in this incident, according to Capricorn Clark. Diddy comes out. Diddy explains, who the F are you talking to? Diddy called that same number back, found out that that's Cassie's burner phone.
I can't believe he was in his
knowing
house.
Cassie even had this extra.
He was literally in Kid Cudi's house, another wealthy rapper. Now we question whether he had anything to do with Tupac and Biggie.
Extra phone. And so
he clearly didn't care.
Kid Cudi later pulled up to his home. He sped off later, though.
You know what I mean?
And then D-Rock, Capricorn, and Rue all followed him in the same car, chased him until they essentially lost him. But then the police responded. And
that's just my opinion.
That's when Kid Cudi, I guess, returns back to his home. And it's interesting because I don't recall under direct or even cross-examination that Kid Cudi explaining that he actually drove to the home before the police arrived. But according to Capricorn Clark, that's what she kind of said happened. But she surprisingly said that Diddy was relatively calm when he saw the police sirens going over to Kid Cudi's home, but that afterwards, Capricorn, Diddy, and Ruben all went to the Key Club, and Diddy told Capricorn to essentially call Cassie and tell her to come over here, and Cassie said, okay, well, come get me. So Diddy told Cassie to tell Kid Cudi not to tell the police that Diddy was the one allegedly behind it and not to make a police report about the incident. The Capricorn told Kid Cudi as well too not to file this police report, and that Kid Cudi was essentially mind blown. There was another objection. That objection was physically assaulting, like really crazy, and being physically violent with Cassie. Capricorn explained that he kept kicking her and he never used his hands. Cassie was crouched into.
But look, just from my point of view, this is really, really important testimony because it helps establish this alleged kidnapping. It helps to back up what Kid Cudi had testified to. It helps to describe and back up and corroborate with what Cassandra Ventura had testified to. All this idea that the jury has to believe that Sean Combs was essentially a mob boss, that he was running this criminal organization and had people engaging in this kind of behavior. And I'll pick it up back to you because the sound stopped. But, also real quick, she talked about her work and she talked about being forced. I mean, if we're talking about forced labor, it wasn't just the hours. I mean, she talked about the hours she had to work as well, but also the kind of circumstances of her job too, right?
She did, and as I'm trying to go through my notes, everyone, that's also the beauty of the live shot is writing or finding a place where you'd
like the mob thing. Like Al Capone was like a mobster. Albert Anastasia was a mobster. Lucky Luciano was a mobster. Who else? Right? Or no? Like, is Diddy up there? Pablo Escobar. If you don't know who that is, you need to go watch that show. Griselda Blanco was someone, I would say, right? Is Diddy a mobster? Really?
Wrote down everything because you write down so many notes, I should say. But as far as just the overworking that she did, she said on a good night, she got 4 hours of sleep. And then on a bad night, she got 2 hours of sleep. I personally think 4 hours of sleep is kind of a bad night. But according to her, that was just pretty typical. She said that she even got stress-induced alopecia from working with Diddy. She even had to go to a doctor. She said that around that time frame, she was making about $65,000 as her salary as a personal assistant. But the thing is, Jesse, she went to HR and HR calculated Capricorn's overtime. And she said that she had enough overtime that was owed to her, totaling about $80,000 of overtime. That's a lot of money. But what did Diddy do whenever he was? I'm like, was it really HR? Kind of this, or was Diddy HR too? Showed that she was owed $80,000 in overtime. Diddy allegedly ripped up this paper. That's what Capricorn Clark said while she was on the stand. But like a lot of the other assistants that have testified so far, including David James and George Kaplan as well, that Capricorn Clark's one of her many duties was to set up hotel rooms. And even just thinking about this time frame, right, Jesse, it's from 2004 to 2006. So this was before the Cassie relationship that she was still required to set up these hotels. She said that she would unpack a camera box. This camera box had a camera, lube, baby oil in it. She said that she had to unpack Diddy's clothes, his shoes, a toiletry bag, which a toiletry bag was that Louis Vuitton bag that allegedly had drugs inside of it. She said there were drugs like ecstasy inside this bag. Kind of still the same.
I'm over here censoring my words in long time. It's
Booking
just
these
like
hotel stays that if it was one of Diddy's girlfriends, because again, this was before Cassie Ventura, that the name for the girlfriend would be Jackie Starr, a same alias that was used by Cassie. She had explained that as far as the names for the hotel reservations for Diddy specifically, she said that those could be either Frank Black, they could be Frank White. She even said that during some of these hotel stays that he being Diddy would stay at the hotel with Kim Porter, and this would be something that would happen at least once a week. But there were other girlfriends who would stay at the hotel too. And then even in the aftermath of everything, Jesse, it's kind of that same old thing where she would pack up all of his stuff and clean up after him. And what was kind of on the walls and kind of the stickier stuff that's found inside these hotel rooms, it was baby oil. So it was interesting kind of hearing that even before the Cassie Ventura relationship goes, that Capricorn Clark was essentially doing the same type of responsibilities that other assistants did while Diddy was with Cassie and even after the fact.
Right. Well, listen, we have a lot to break down with her testimony and what to make of it. But Elizabeth Milner, thank you so much for the in-depth report. It feels like I'm, reading the.
Okay. Now that we got through today's updates, the last clip I have is, I know we already watched or heard Cassie testify, but I want to watch this AI clip that Long Time did of her testifying. Go back and watch the playlist, and we watched opening statements from both sides via AI, and it was pretty cool. So make sure you go back and watch that on my playlist. Okay, this is Cassie testifying. So we're kind of backtracking. We covered day 10, we read through it, we watched some clips, and now we're going to watch this quick video.
Please be seated. Is the government ready to call their next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The government calls Cassandra Ventura.
All right.
Remain standing and please raise your right hand.
Good morning, Miss Ventura.
Good morning.
Just so you know, you can drink that water that's on the stand.
Oh, thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 38 years old.
What is your occupation?
I'm a musician, an entertainer.
Ms. Gavin, could you please publish Government Exhibit 2A101 in evidence for all the parties in the courtroom? Ms. Ventura, who is depicted in Government's Exhibit 2A101?
Sean Combs.
How do you know Sean Combs?
We were in a relationship for a little over 11 years.
If I refer to Sean Combs as Sean today, will you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
You said you were in a relationship with Sean for a little over a decade. During that period, were you together consistently, or were there breaks during the relationship?
There were breaks.
During that same time, were there times where you got along well with Sean?
Yes.
Were there times where you did not?
Yes.
Were there times when you had arguments with Sean?
Yes.
Without getting into the subject matter of those arguments, can you describe what arguments with Sean were like?
If they were violent arguments, it would usually result in some sort of physical abuse, and dragging and just different things of that nature.
When you say physical abuse, can you tell me what types of things that Sean did that hurt you physically?
I mean, he would mash me in my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head if I was down.
How frequently was Sean physical with you during your relationship?
Too frequently.
Were you ever injured as a result of these incidents?
Yes.
What kind of injuries did you have as a result of Sean being physical with you?
Usually pretty similar. I would get knots in my forehead, busted lips, swollen lips, black eyes. The whites of my eyes would be red. bruises all over my body, just depending.
Okay. Ms. Gavin, could you please pull up and publish for the courtroom Government Exhibit 10C103 at 33 seconds? Ms. Ventura, directing your attention to the screen in front of you, do you recognize who's depicted in that still image?
Yes, that's me and Sean.
Do you recognize the location recorded in this still image?
Yes, that's the Intercontinental Century City.
What were you and Sean doing at the Intercontinental Century City at the time of this image was captured?
We were having an encounter that we call a freak off, and I was leaving there.
We're going to get back to that specific incident later on. You just mentioned the word freak off. Do you recall that?
Yes,
Who introduced you to the term freak off?
Sean did.
And how did you learn what a freak off was?
Within the first year of our relationship, Sean proposed to me this idea, this sexual encounter that he called voyeurism, where he would watch me have intercourse and sexual activity with a third party, specifically another man.
And how did the term freak off come about?
I honestly don't remember exactly how it came about.
Can you describe for the jury, when you say the term freak off, what that entails?
It basically entails the hiring of an escort and setting up this experience so that I could perform for Sean.
And what did the performance involve at a high level?
Perform? Yeah.
The performance involved. I'm sorry. It just involved watching Sean being able to watch me with the other person and actually direct us on what we were doing sexually.
And when you say the other person, who are you referring to?
The third party, the escort or dancer that would be hired.
Who was in charge of all the aspects of the freak offs you mentioned? The hiring, the setup, etc.
Eventually it became a job for me pretty much. To where I knew that that is something that he wanted to do, I had the contacts to set it up and get a hotel room and all of that. But in the beginning, Sean set it up. He was in charge.
And after it became your job, how did you know what to do?
He would tell me.
When Sean first proposed freak offs, what was your reaction?
Oh, I just remember like my stomach falling to my butt, like just the nervousness and the confusion in that moment. I think I was 22 at the time. I had just turned 22. I didn't have a concept of how that would be a turn on, but I also felt a sense of responsibility with him sharing something like that with me. So yeah, I was confused, nervous, but also loved him very much and wanted to make him happy. So yeah.
Did you agree to try a freak off when Sean first proposed one?
I did.
After that, were there more freak offs?
Yes, there were.
How, if at all, did your willingness to engage in freak offs with Sean change over time?
I mean, pretty quickly over time. I knew that it wasn't something that I wanted to be doing, especially as regularly as it became. But again, I was just in love and wanted to make him happy.
Well, despite not wanting to do freak offs, did you continue to engage in freak offs with Sean?
I did.
And why did you continue to engage in freak offs with Sean?
He would ask me. He would bring it up at random times, and I think to a point, I just didn't feel like I had much of a choice. I didn't really know what a no would be or what no could turn into.
When you say you didn't know what no could turn into, what do you mean by that?
Making him angry. Very honestly, also making him uncomfortable that I knew this thing and that I no longer wanted to do it. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. You said that you didn't
Cassie is testifying in the AI
know
video.
what no could turn into, and I asked you if you could
explain like the real
what you meant
transcript
by
too.
that phrase.
They're just AI.
Ultimately, at that point, Sean controlled a lot of my life, whether it was my career, the way I dressed, like everything. And I just didn't feel like I had much say in it at the time, being like really super young, naive, total people pleaser. Yeah, I didn't know if he would be upset enough to be violent or if he would write me off and just not want to be with me at all.
What, if anything, were you afraid would happen if you said no to a freak off?
Well, over time, it turned into the fact that there were actually blackmail materials to basically make me feel like if I didn't do
The
it,
breathing.
that it would be hung over my head
So
in
on
that
it.
way, or that these things would become public. I experienced violence with him before that. The abuse started before that, so obviously in the back of my mind.
And Miss Ventura, when you say that the blackmail materials would be hung over your head,
Oh,
what,
Lord.
if anything, were you afraid Mr. Combs, Sean, would do with the blackmail materials?
Release them, put them out on the internet. He had many resources to do that, so.
And you mentioned that at this point, violence had started. What, if anything, were you afraid would happen physically if you refused to do a frick off?
I mean, it was always in the back of my mind that I would somehow be hurt by him, but Sean's a really polarizing person, also very charming. So it's hard to be able to decide in that moment, like, what you need when he's telling you what he wants. I just didn't know. I just didn't know what would happen.
Miss Ventura, just to clarify one thing you said you called something blackmail materials. What were you referring to?
Referring to actual videos and photos of the sexual encounters, the escort.
To be clear, that's the freak offs you mentioned earlier?
Yes.
Okay. And who was depicted in those videos and photos with the escorts?
Me, Sean in some of the videos, yeah.
Okay, we're going to get back to this, but first, I would like to direct your attention to approximately December 2023. What, if any, items did you provide to the government?
I gave them broken laptops, iPads, phones, things that no longer worked, but I kept because I didn't know what was on them.
And what was the approximate time period that these broken electronic devices were from?
It was around the time period of being in a relationship with Sean.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Jules. I'm laughing because we just had someone come in here and they had the username of Diddy, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so popular. And Diddy's on his burner phone in his prison cell watching Mellyverse. Thank you, Jules, for the floating heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm like, wow, Diddy is into Mellyverse.
Miss Ventura, I handed you what's been marked for identification as GXB. Do you recognize that I've handed you?
Yes,
Have you reviewed the contents of that drive?
I have.
At a high level, what's on that drive?
Different communications and documents pertaining to this trial.
Are those communications and documents from this electronic devices we just discussed?
Yes.
And did you also review photographs that are contained on that drive?
Yes.
Are those photographs also from the electronic devices we just discussed?
Yes.
And how do you know
Thank
that
you,
the drive I
Jules.
just handed you is the drive that you reviewed before this trial?
Because my initials are on here.
Did you initial the drive after you reviewed it?
I did.
Your Honor, at this time, the government is going to offer some of the materials on that drive. We would offer the exhibits B101 through B112, B201 through B209, B301 through B13, B15 and B16, B315 through B20, B400A through B402, B500A through B503, and B600A through B608, and all subdivisions thereof.
Any objection?
Subject to connection, no objection.
All right, they will be admitted.
This AI is so
Miss Gavin,
serious.
can you please pull what's up in evidence as government exhibit B105? Okay. Miss Gavin, could you please pull up and publish for the courtroom government exhibit 10C103 at 33 seconds? Miss Ventura, what's depicted in government exhibit B104?
That is Carrie Morgan, Alize Rashi, Sean, and myself, and we're on the outside patio in his room in Las Vegas on that trip.
When you say that trip, which trip to Las Vegas are you referring to?
21st birthday at the VMAs.
When you say at the VMAs, can you explain what you meant of the VMAs?
That was the event that was going on that weekend, the MTV Video Music Awards.
And what, if anything, happened between you and Sean while you were in Las Vegas for your 21st birthday?
A lot of different things happened, but he kissed me in the bathroom of in the bathroom of this actual suite pretty early in the morning. We had been up, all of us, pretty late.
What was your reaction to Sean kissing you in the bathroom?
I think I was just really confused at the time. Again, young, new artist, just didn't really know the lay of the land when it came to things like that. So in my confusion,
She was really young.
Kind of cried and ran out.
When you say you were a new artist who did not know the lay of the land, what did you mean by that?
I just wasn't familiar with having an executive or anybody pay attention to me in that way and be forward at that point. I just didn't really understand it. I was pretty naive, I would say.
When you say that way, can you clarify what you meant by that way?
In a more than friends way, in a sexual way, romantic way.
And at this time, at your 21st birthday, what was your professional relationship with Sean again?
I was signed to his label.
And what happened after Sean kissed you in the bathroom?
I just remember running out and headed back to my hotel. I think I told Carrie about it at the time, but I didn't really share it with anyone.
Did you want Sean to kiss you at your 21st birthday?
No, not at my 21st birthday.
After your 21st birthday in Las Vegas, how, if at all, was your relationship with Sean different?
When we got back to New York, I would just visit with him. He would invite me over to his hotel. I think his apartment at the time was getting renovated, so I went to see him a handful of times.
Which hotel did you go to see Sean at?
The Trump Hotel in Columbus Circle is the one that I remember specifically.
At the same time after your 21st birthday, what, if anything, were you doing with your music career?
I was trying just to continue to go to the next album, continue recording, come up with a concept.
Were you recording another album at the time?
Yes.
What influence, if any, did Sean have on your music career at this time?
At this time, I mean, he called most of the shots. Well, all of the shots. If I had a new record, I would have come to play it for him. He chose what was next for me, basically.
Before we talk about
I do feel bad. Diddy promised her 10 albums.
About the hotel,
So
what
fun.
is the
I
age
think she only
difference,
made
if
one.
any, between you and Sean?
It's terrible.
17 years.
And when Sean invited you to the hotel after your 21st birthday, what was your reaction to that invitation?
I'm sorry, can you ask that question again?
Of course. You testified earlier that after your 21st birthday, Sean invited you to hang out with him at hotels in New York. Is that right?
Yes.
How did you feel when Sean invited you to these hotels?
I mean, initially, a bit of nervousness. And then just being a young artist, excitement, of course, okay, we're going to get to talk about music, or we're going to get to talk about what's next.
Oh,
yeah, I think it's a lot in the time period that's kind of hazy because it was a while ago, but just nervous excitement.
At the meetings in the hotel rooms, what, if anything, did you two talk about music?
Talked about upcoming projects or the actual next album and other things. We started to develop a more comfortable relationship with each other.
And what else, if anything, happened at those meetings at the hotels?
I remember being introduced to the idea of oral sex. It wasn't something that I really understood or did at that point.
When you say he basically taught you how, who is the he in that sentence?
Sean.
When you say you were introduced to oral sex, who introduced you?
Sean.
How did he introduce you to oral sex?
He gave me oral sex.
Did you reciprocate the oral sex?
Wait, what?
I did not. I went home and I heard about it from him.
When you say you heard about it from him, can you tell me more about that?
He just kind of made me feel crazy for not reciprocating. At the time, just didn't understand
the AI
sexual relationship.
I like it.
I was also still in a relationship with someone else.
When you say you didn't understand that kind of a sexual relationship, can you tell me more about what you mean by that?
I was just so young. I didn't have even the vocabulary for some of the things we talked about. I was just trying to understand it, just completely sexually inexperienced at that point.
And around the same time, in addition to performing oral sex on you, were there ever any occasions where you performed oral sex on
Why is the
Sean?
AI saying it like that?
Later on, yeah.
What was your reaction to the hotel room visits with Sean?
I think it was the nervous excitement that I say. It also just made me feel sneaky.
Nasty puff.
I didn't know. I was curious, but of course ended up there and wanted to be like around him. So that was just kind of, it was like, okay, I'm here. Leaving, it was just always confusing because I didn't really know what I felt. I felt like I don't know that I knew that I was making decisions for myself or not. I feel like it was just like, here I am. I don't know how to explain that.
You said you wanted to be around him. Why did you want to be around Sean?
I wanted to be around Sean for the same reasons as like everyone else at the time. It's just this exciting, entertaining, fun guy. I had also happened to have my career in his hands. But yeah, just wanted to spend time. It felt special because not a lot of people got that kind of time with him.
Around that same time, did you also take a trip to meet Sean in Miami?
I did.
What were the circumstances of meeting Sean in Miami?
The circumstances were that I didn't have a party to host in Miami, but wanted to spend that weekend together. And so came up with a flyer that said I was hosting a party at a club in the beach area, Miami Beach area.
When you talk about hosting a party, can you explain to the jury what you meant by that?
Yes, like.
Yeah. As an artist, to make extra money, sometimes you're asked to host events at different clubs, sometimes to perform. And that would have fallen in line with me going to a club and making money for just showing up.
And you mentioned a flyer. Who made that flyer?
I don't know exactly who made the flyer, but somebody that we knew that could create it.
Did you make the flyer?
I did not make that flyer, no.
Was the flyer advertising an actual club hosting for you?
No.
Besides yourself and Sean, who else was in Miami with you?
I was there with Carrie Morgan, and Dallas Austin later met us down there.
Who is Dallas Austin?
He's a producer, musician, and friend.
Carrie Morgan is the individual in the photograph we saw earlier?
Yes.
What, if any?
It's wild, but I think like, what if Cassie, if Diddy, if he would have paid her out before she filed the lawsuit, when she sent a demand originally, would we even be here? Like, would it have gotten this far? He didn't want to pay her. That's why she decided to go through with the lawsuit, which is wild.
Did you
Just
and
look
Sean
at
do
everything
together
coming
on
out.
this trip?
Together, this trip was the first time we had sexual intercourse with each other. He rented a boat. I was the first to get there. We just spent some time together, and yeah.
And you testified earlier that at some point after the hotel visits, you had given Sean oral sex. Do you remember that?
Uh-huh.
Was that prior to Miami?
I don't think so. I think it happened there. I'm pretty sure. Everything kind of happened that weekend.
Prior to having sex on that boat, what were you doing on the boat?
Just riding on the boat.
What, if any, alcohol were you drinking?
Drinking wine during the day, and then later that night started to take drugs.
What drugs did you take?
On that trip, it
Drugs.
was ecstasy. It was a
Doesn't
blue
the
dolphin
AI
ecstasy
know?
pill.
Can you explain what you mean by
Like
a blue
YouTube
dolphin
policies?
ecstasy pill?
Ecstasy used to, I don't know how it is now, but came as a pressed pill with a little symbol on it. So these had dolphins.
Who gave you the ecstasy that you took on the boat in Miami?
Sean did.
Yes, this is testimony word for word. It's just AI.
Prior to this Miami trip, had you taken ecstasy before?
No.
It doesn't.
Had you ever taken ecstasy unintentionally before?
True.
Yes.
What happened at that time?
I was just out of it with friends laughing. Didn't know what it was until a little bit later.
Miami.
And when you say you had unintentionally taken ecstasy, how did you unintentionally take it?
I took it out of someone else's Gatorade bottle, just drinking Gatorade, but it had drugs in it, but didn't know.
This was before Miami?
This was before Miami, yeah.
Prior to hanging out with Sean Moore, what, if any, drugs did you use?
I smoked marijuana and I drink wine, and yeah.
On this Miami trip, when you took ecstasy
And yeah.
intentionally for the first time, how did it make you feel?
It's totally euphoric. It's an experience of something called ruling, where you're just really in that high. So you're super high. You're sensitive to touch. You're just sensitive to all your different senses.
Ms. Gavin, could you please pull up and publish what's in evidence as government exhibit B107 and
But you're
B108
rolling.
side by side? Ms. Ventura, starting with the photograph on the left, B107, do you recognize who is depicted in that photo?
They were.
Yes, that's me and Sean on the boat in Miami.
And is this the boat you just described being on?
Yes.
And turning to the next photograph, B108, do you recognize who's depicted in that exhibit?
Yes, that's Sean and me sitting down. Same boat.
Ms. Gavin, you can take those exhibits down now. After the Miami trip, what was the status of your relationship with Sean?
I would say we were just together. We spent a lot of time with each other after that. Now, I know in hindsight, but I had become like one of his girlfriends after that trip.
When you say you knew in hindsight, what did you know in hindsight?
That Sean Combs had many girlfriends.
At the time, what did you know?
At the time, I didn't know. I can't say naive enough. I knew that we were spending a lot of time together one-on-one and really felt, like we were in a monogamous relationship for a period.
After the Miami trip, was it public that you were dating Sean?
No, not for many years after that.
Why was it not public for many years?
It was always just a discussion of me being his artist and not wanting it to look bad. But I also know it was because of his family and his children and other things, personal things for him.
What are those other personal things, if you know?
No.
His family, it was always something I understood.
Around the same time.
This is Cassie's testimony from day one. We just caught up on day 10 and we're just watching the AI
Who,
episode.
if anyone, was publicly linked to Sean romantically?
Around this time, I believe it was Kim, but I think she had also just moved away around that time.
When you say Kim, are you referring to Kim Porter?
Yes.
After you started dating Sean, what changes, if any, did you eventually make in your career management?
Well, my management at the time was also managing the other producer boyfriend that I was with and just looked at this as a major conflict of interest at that point. And I basically just trusted that we were going to find new people.
And when you say you trusted that we were going to find new people, who was the we in that sentence?
Sean and I.
Just to be clear, did you break ties with your old management after you started dating Sean?
I did, yeah.
After Miami, how did your relationship with Sean evolve?
After Miami, we really at least for my own side of things, I really fell in love with him. I traveled with him anywhere. I was in studio. I was just like a little shadow for a little while.
You were a shadow to whom?
To Sean.
How did Sean treat you at this time?
We had fun. It was just kind of like it's my first real adult relationship. At least what I thought it was. And it was different, so different than anything as you can imagine. His lifestyle was so much different than mine.
How long did you feel this way about your relationship that you described being this, strike that? You said that Sean's lifestyle was different. Can you explain what you mean by that?
I mean, he had assistance at his beck and call. He could get anything done quickly. He had respect from everyone. He traveled quite a bit, so moving around a lot.
Ms. Gavin, could you please pull up and publish Government Exhibit B112? Ms. Ventura, do you recognize who's depicted in Government Exhibit B112?
Yeah, that's me and Sean.
What's the occasion when this photograph was taken, if you remember?
This was at a strip club in New York. I'm not sure which one, but it was on Halloween.
And what year?
I would say this is probably 2007 or 8. 7.
And Halloween 2007, is that shortly after your Miami trip?
Yes.
If you can pull that down, Ms.
Thank
Gavin,
you,
and pull up
Sandra.
Government Exhibit B106 and B109, both in evidence side by side, please. Ms. Ventura, starting with the photograph on the left, B106, who's depicted in B106?
That's Sean and myself.
And where are you?
We're in the back of his car, probably driving to the Hamptons or something.
Yes, this is her actual testimony. The AI is obviously AI. Thank you, Smog Dog, for being a member and gifting. Thank you, thank you, thank you. F. Troopin got the membership. Shout out to F. Troopin and Smog Dog.
Approximately what time period is this
Appreciate
photograph from?
This is in the first year of us dating, like within that first few months.
And turning to the photograph on the right, B109 again, who is depicted in that photograph?
Sean and myself in the back of the car.
Is that the same car?
Yes.
And what's the approximate time period that this photograph was taken?
It was around the same time.
In the beginning of your relationship?
Yeah.
Miss Ventura, how did you feel about Sean around this time in the beginning of your relationship?
I think I was just enamored by him. We were just having a good time. It was really fun at this point.
How long did you feel that way about Sean?
Fun.
I don't know exactly how long. It was off and on for many years, yeah.
How, if at all, did your relationship change over time?
I mean, over time, you just get more comfortable with somebody, obviously. But I began to just experience a different side of him, which was his abusive side and his side that was just very controlling over my life and the things that I wanted to do. But there was still love there.
Ms. Gavin, you can take these exhibits down. Ms. Ventura, you mentioned a side of Sean that wanted control over your life. Can you explain to me what you mean by that?
Being an artist at that time, everything moved really quickly for me. And I don't know. There was just no way of keeping up with what was happening. And
I love how they do the emotions.
The question?
Sure. You had mentioned that one thing that changed about your relationship over time was Sean wanting to have control over your life. I just wanted to ask you what you meant when you said control over your life.
Control was everything from the way that I looked to what I was working on that day, who I was speaking to. Control was kind of like an all-around thing to a certain point.
How often did you talk to Sean in a typical day while you were dating?
All day, throughout the day.
How did you two communicate?
Texts, mostly calls.
What about phone calls?
Phone calls for sure.
And when it became a thing, did you FaceTime?
Yes.
Were there times when you did not answer Sean's messages or phone calls right away?
Yeah.
What happened when you didn't answer his messages or phone calls right away?
He's a bit of an incessant caller, or would have his staff, his assistants, security, somebody continue to call until you answered or until he found you.
When you say incessant caller, what do you mean by that?
If there's no answer, you just keep going.
Would he do the same thing with text messages?
Yes, that's just his nature.
You mentioned that assistants and security would reach out until they found you.
Correct.
What do you mean by until they found you?
Until they heard from you and knew where you were and could tell him.
Were there times when Sean's staff located you in person?
Yes.
How, if at all, did Sean's move vary from day to day?
It varied depending on what was going on.
How did his mood vary?
I mean, it could change at the drop of a conversation, a bad conversation that I had nothing to do with. It just swung different ways.
I didn't catch that last part that you said. Could you repeat it?
I said it swung different ways quite a bit.
When it swung, could you describe the different moods that you experienced?
Yeah, I mean, agitation, kind of zoning out if he was passionate about a subject. He would just be really focused. Yeah, anger.
How, if at all, did Sean's mood?
Angry puff.
I felt like they impacted me pretty greatly. It got to a point where this is me speaking for myself, but like, you know how to handle certain people. You know when to speak to them, you know when to approach them. Like, it's the timing or what you say, how you present something just in order to make sure the person doesn't become upset with you or, change their demeanor with you.
Do you have an example of how Sean's moods impacted you?
I mean, the greatest, the most complicated and greatest examples are the abuse because, like, I also felt at certain times when I knew that it wasn't even about me and make the wrong face. And the next thing I knew, I was getting hit in the face. It was,
When you say the abuse, what abuse are you talking about?
Physical abuse in the relationship. But there's also psychological. There's a lot of things going on.
You said something about making the wrong face. Can you explain what you meant by that?
If I wasn't smiling at him the way he wanted, If I just looked a certain way that he didn't like, maybe I was a brat or something, like, he would let me know I need to fix my face or watch my mouth. That was like those were the things that were said in the relationship quite
They
often.
do kind of make her
Fix your
in the
face,
AI.
watch your mouth, or you have a slick mouth.
You also mentioned psychological abuse. Can you describe what you
Like
meant by
that's supposed to be her
psychological
mom.
abuse?
That's pretty deep. I mean, psychological is just every day, not knowing who he's going to be when we woke up that day. The entire relationship. I didn't live with him, so we had time apart, and usually it was just like, I always had to be doing something. I don't know if that makes sense. I had what you would call like busy work. I needed to make sure I knew what songs I was recording, what things were coming up, and then to have to like list them out,
think
or I
that's
wasn't
the mom.
amounting to anything in my life. So it was a lot. I mean, psychological is an everyday thing, somebody constantly telling you who to be.
When you say someone constantly telling you who to be, are you referring to anyone in particular?
I'm referring to Sean.
You mentioned you always had to be doing something.
Yeah,
Who, if anyone, would check in on you about what you were doing?
he would check in. But I also worked with his engineers and all his people, so everybody was pretty much in tune with everything I was doing.
When you say his engineers and his
That's-
people, are you talking about people you worked with in the studio?
Studio staff,
That's
yeah.
Cassie.
How often was security around Sean?
Oh, all the time, 24/7 security.
When you say trusted assistant,
24/7.
whose assistant are you referring to?
Sean's assistant.
Look at how old they
What are
make him
some
look.
of the
I
names
love
of the
it.
security who worked for Sean during the time you two were dating?
There was D-Rock, Bonds, Uncle Polly, Fahim, Malik, just a lot of people, but those are the main ones I can remember.
When you mentioned trusted assistant, who were some of the trusted assistants?
I mean, in the very beginning, it was David James. It just kind of changed over time. Christina Coram eventually, Neil Dominic, he had a lot of different assistants.
And we'll get back to some of those folks. When you said security kept an eye on you, what did you mean by that?
I mean, they could easily just come over and see if I was home or not. It wasn't really a secret. Yeah, does that make sense?
Was your relationship with Sean always exclusive?
No.
Were there times where you saw other men?
Yes.
Were there times where he saw other women?
Yes.
How did you feel about Sean seeing other women?
I was insanely jealous, but also super young. Didn't get it at all, but I was definitely young and jealous.
And
When you
nice.
say you didn't get it, what didn't you get?
I didn't get that he was him. As he would say, I'm Puff Daddy. And Puff Daddy has many women where, he likes the company of women. And yeah, I had to just really learn that over time, despite what he would tell me just between us.
I said that earlier.
When
I'm
you
like,
say despite what he would tell you,
security could never step in, not one time. He was laying hands on her, but they probably were scared
what do you
to lose their
mean?
job or their
He
life.
made me feel like we were in a monogamous relationship more often than not. It was more figuring out that I wasn't in a monogamous relationship.
how did he make you feel like you were in a monogamous relationship?
I mean, he expected that of me, so I assumed that it was the same, but he definitely would say, like, I'm not dealing with anyone else, or it's just us.
And when he would say, I'm not dealing with anyone else, was that true?
It could have been sometimes, and then other times, no.
In what city did you live when you first started dating Sean?
I lived in New York.
And after you started dating Sean, in what part of the city did you eventually move to?
I eventually lived on West End, around 60th and West End.
What were the circumstances of you moving to 60th and West End?
It was a gift actually for my birthday. And I remember on my birthday, Sean taking me and my parents up there to show them. It wasn't far from his house, like all of the other houses.
I think she was.
Where did Sean live in relation to the West End apartment?
He was around like 56th is Broadway at the time, so not far.
Who paid the rent for the apartment on West End?
Sean did.
Besides New York, where else and what other cities did you live while you were dating Sean?
Los Angeles. I occasionally were in Miami, but I really didn't live there. Los Angeles and New York.
Did you eventually move full-time from New York to Los Angeles?
Yeah.
And what led your move to LA?
After spending quite a bit of one-on-one time, I knew he really wanted to be closer to his kids. So that was ultimately the move he wanted to make, to be closer to them in LA. Although I wasn't ready to move out of New York, I followed him. I went.
So why did you move?
I moved because I was in love and I wanted to be near him.
And when you said Sean wanted to be closer to his kids, where did his kids live at the time?
His kids lived in California, or some of them, yeah.
Ms. Gavin, can you please pull up for identification the court and the parties only government exhibits 2B101 and 2B102 side by side? Ms. Ventura, do you recognize what's depicted in 2B101 and 2B102?
Yes, this is one of the houses that Sean and I rented while in LA.
How do you recognize this house?
I spent a lot of time there. I had my 26th birthday there.
Are these fair and accurate photos of one of the houses Sean rented in LA?
Yes.
The government offers government exhibit 2B101 and 2B102.
No objection.
They'll be admitted.
Okay. That wasn't all of Cassie's testimony, but that was just the beginning of it. What do you guys think? I kind of like the AI since we can't watch it because it's a federal case. So we need to get all we can get. All we can get. Thank you for hanging out and being here. Day 10 of the Diddy trial. Let me give you the schedule. We have a Karen Read after this, so make sure you all go there. We're going to catch up on a late night episode of Karen Read trial. I am behind. All new viewers, all new subbies, hello, welcome to Mellyverse. I saw a couple of people subscribe. Thank you for supporting my channel. We are going to do late night after dark. After this, tomorrow we will have, I think, Diddy, and I need to finish editing. I have a deep dive coming for y'all, a really good one. It's a case that's all over the internet. I'm not going to tell you who it is. You guys have to come back and watch. And then we will continue to cover Karen Read and the Diddy trial. So thank you for being here. Welcome to all the new stars joining Mellyverse. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And I will, wait, let me see what you guys think about the AI. Her husband has to be throwing up nonstop. Just trying to do her studio work. Could be her manager. I like this a lot. Thank you. Beats reading the transcript. Right. I'm trying to get my hands on that transcript. I'm into the AI though. Thank you for subbing. I appreciate that. I am into the AI since we can't watch it. But nonetheless, I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for being here. Bye.